What the fuck? What the fuck? Yo, what is this? Shit. Oh, I'm on the wrong fucking account. Blaspheming. Ugh, fuck. Man. I don't know what to put on, man. I gotta stop watching this dumb shit. Alright, alright,
always loved, this is a bit of a pivot from Slenderman, but those were always my favorite kind of creepypastas or creepy things on the internet, was like the kind of corrupted media trend where like a game is haunted or a lost TV show is haunted, and there's like recounts or stories about those media. I always found those like the funnest. So yeah, I definitely think though, Isaiah, that like Slender Man was the massive popularity boost for the genre.
That's when I remember it going everywhere, like creepypasta
Yeah.
culture being a thing, with people making their own stories and sharing them and stuff like that.
Exactly, yeah, and I think that's pretty undeniable. With like, there's a movie made about Slender Man, stuff like that. It extended beyond just the year it was made popular. You know, it's been like a decade, and Slender Man was still somewhat talked about, which is impressive for something like this.
Yeah.
So let's start with a synopsis of Slender Man. Does someone want to talk about Slender Man himself, or
I'll
for
take him.
for anyone who doesn't know about Slender Man? I guess we actually have an audience that skews a little bit older, so maybe there are a few people that don't know Slender Man because they're too old to use the internet at the time, and now they're just getting into it.
I still think they'd know the name Slender Man because even outside of just creepypastas, it proliferated into like horror culture itself. And like there was the Slender Man killings, which also put the name out there in a big way. So it's definitely a name I think anyone's heard of before.
More so than any other creepypasta anyway.
For sure. So, Slender Man is a fictional character starring in the pseudo-internet creepypasta who captured the fascination and interest of internet users during the late 2000s and early 2010s. Slender Man has a common appearance in almost all the media he's found in. He's described as having male features, milky, white, featureless face, freakishly tall, and unnaturally thin. He's usually seen sporting an all-black suit and black pants. At will, he is able to elongate all his limbs and body to strike fear into those he is haunting. He's also able to conjure multiple black tendrils from his body. It is unknown whether or not he kills or just captures his victims, but it is said that no matter what happens to you, no evidence will be left behind and nobody will ever see you again. The story, paired with the images posted to accompany the story, obviously captured the imagination of those who enjoyed similar creepy internet stories.
Did you guys find the image of him creepy at all?
Not particularly. I just thought it was interesting. Like, I thought it was well done. But I was also older at the time.
I think when I was a kid, I thought the idea of like being outside. What honestly scared me more than the creepypasta was like the Marble Hornet series.
Yeah,
and particularly how like they would be looking out at the woods at night, and then just you'd realize the blank face was there in the tree line watching you. I did find some of that stuff creepy. I remember.
That's always the best
Wow, how
horror
did you
when
not
like
see me, you
it's,
fucking idiot?
it's not so much in your face. It's the kind of like thing where you have to go back and look at each frame and then you notice things.
Yeah.
That's always creepy. I always love stuff like that. I wish they did that more in horror movies instead of just jump scares. But yeah, I guess looking through the eyes of like 12-year-old Jackson, I found it creepy at the time. I don't necessarily know why. There's nothing about it right now that's jumping out as like creepy, but maybe it's just because there's been so much of this kind of stuff
Can't
since
grab
then
'em.
that it's kind of lost all impact.
And grab little
Like
guys though.
featureless face
We'll
and
try
stuff
that.
like that, kind of boring now. Wearing a suit, very classy, creepy dude. Very tall, lanky. I don't know. It doesn't. Looking back, it doesn't seem like anything special just from the appearance of him, but I think it's more so the story around the Slender Man and the mythos that the creator kind of conjured up. So the Slender Man started on the Something Awful internet forums, which was I never used it. Did you guys use it?
I went on there occasionally, yeah. That was a hot spot for some of the biggest, most influential memes of the day.
Like what?
Something Awful is where like a ton of shit started. Like,
yeah,
hold
that's
on.
where like meme culture kicked off. Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on. I don't want
never
to get it
went
wrong,
there.
but I'm pretty sure. Let me see. Yeah, they started that entire trend of like the that Reddit format they ran into the ground with like the Bad Luck Brian type shit where they just take
Oh,
those
that's fucking
photos.
good.
They did like all of that. It seems that started on Something Awful. But they also made some of like the like big videos like Uwe Boll fought someone from Something Awful. He used to insult his movies.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Like
yeah.
that was a huge site.
So was it the most popular social media site at the time in terms of like internet forums?
I would say so, probably.
So it was like a precursor to Reddit almost. What was the other Reddit before Reddit? It was like
Dig.
Dig. Yeah. So it was like Dig and Something Awful, and that was the like late 2000s.
Yeah, it was mid 2000s because like
Yeah,
the
true,
Uwe Boll
mid-2000s.
fight with the Something Awful guy was 2006.
Yeah. I never used Something Awful. I never even came across it. I don't know. It mustn't have been a thing that was common over here in Australia. The internet forum that I used the most during that time period was the Bungie.net forums because I was a Halo fan. There was a sub forum on there called The Flood, and I would hang out there all the fucking time and just shit posts and stuff like that. And I think that's probably where I came across Slender Man, honestly. So shout out to the Bungie Net forum.
Before there was any, you know, like title or prestige attached to it, Jackson was doing it for the love of the game on the Bungie.net forums.
You joke. Oh my god, this is unlocking like an old memory. I actually had like a pinned thread there, like the moderators pinned the thread, and I would just like review internet myths. There was like a collection of internet myths that I would. I think that's what started the YouTube series actually, or the YouTube series, as in 2 videos. Holy shit, that's a deep cut memory. Anyway, shout out to the Bungie.net forums, infinitely better than the Something Awful.
I'll say,
forums.
I'm pretty sure I'm the youngest out of everyone on this podcast. I was like, I never went on like Something Awful forums, but I watched YouTube a lot, and they would talk about stuff from like Something Awful. So that's the only experience I had with it.
Yeah, I've definitely heard about it now, but not. I'd never visited it back then, so I don't really know what the vibe was then. It does seem, from the comments that I had read for research of this video, it does seem like the vibe was mostly like Reddit tier stuff, which was like. You hear something like a forum called Something Awful. I was thinking like 4chan going in, but no, it's like the most Reddit tier stuff possible in there.
Pretty much.
From what I could see. Anyway, so on the Something Awful internet forums, a thread was created titled Photoshop Contest, and users were tasked with creating paranormal images. So it was like just a Photoshop competition who could create the scariest images, basically. Many users would submit photos, but none would be talked about as much as those created by a man by the name of Eric Knudsen. On June 10th, 2009, Eric, posting under the pseudonym Victor Surge, cool name. Is that a Pokemon reference?
Where's your boys?
Probably not. I don't think. Surge is just a cool sounding word.
I swear one of the gym leaders in like Pokemon.
Lieutenant Surge, yeah.
Yeah, Lieutenant Surge. Is his first name? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Victor Surge would post 2 images along with descriptions for each of them in this Photoshop contest thread. So the first image we have here is like a bunch of children walking towards the camera, with a Slender Man in the back, just kind of sitting there, standing there, standing there. And the quote that he posted along with this was, quote, "We didn't want to go, we didn't want to kill them, but its persistent silence and outstretched arms horrified and comforted us at the same time. 1983, photographer unknown, presumed dead." So that's the very first image. I don't know where he would have got this photo from. Do you think he hired a bunch of children
like shooting people
for this Photoshop competition?
No, this was probably something that was like in a yearbook or something.
Yeah. He just takes the image, puts Slender Man in the background, which for one is all that it needs to be for an internet legend to kick off. At least, you know, back then on the internet. Like, it's good, it's effective. The little caption gives an idea of some haunting presence that maybe killed the photographer. It puts enough pieces in place for people's imagination to run with what the creature could be.
Yeah. I was surprised going back and learning about this all again, that it kind of spread even after having been created in a thread called Photoshop Contest. Like, that immediately removes all the mystery, like for kids wanting to believe that Slender Man is real.
They're running the opposite way. Go up this road,
well, you
bro.
don't think about it that hard. You're just like, oh, scary, and that's enough.
Well, also, you don't see that it was part of a Photoshop contest when you start posting it elsewhere.
Yeah, which is what happened to me. But then if I had have done any kind of like finding the origins of it, I would have seen that it was created in a Photoshop contest, and that would have removed everything. Like all of your stories, Isaiah, that you were talking about, like the what was it, Ted the cave diver or whatever the fuck it was called.
Ted the caver,
yeah, caver. Like it wasn't created in like a subreddit about like creepy writing, like 2-sentence horror or something.
Ted the caver was an Angel Fire story that like he made his own blog about.
Taking his sweet ass
get that across. So no, it wasn't like the same kind of format.
These guys?
Yeah, there was like some air of, I guess, believability if you wanted to believe it. Whereas if it was made in like a creative writing class and then advertised as such, it would have lost all of its kind of impact, I think. So yeah, I was just surprised that it kind of had this impact even after having been created in the Photoshop contest thread. And then the very next image he posted in the same thread is another image of children in a park playing around, having a good time, and in the back, Slender Man's hanging out again with like squid tentacles hanging off his arms. Never really understood the whole tentacle element of Slender Man, but he has them. He's like a
Got to
gene
fucking pet
spliced
the dog.
octopus with a tall dude. Does he have hair there?
No, I don't.
No.
Wait. Which photo are you looking at? The one in the mirror or the one at the park?
At the park.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
he
yeah,
doesn't
my
have
bad.
it. I mean, it's too vague to tell. I think it's still supposed to be just a blank face, a tall figure with kids.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, the quote for that one is, one of 2 recovered photographs from the Sterling City Library blaze, notable for being taken the day which 14 children vanished and for what is referred to as the Slender Man. Deformities cited as film defects by officials. Fire at library occurred 1 week later. Actual photograph confiscated as evidence. 1986, photographer Mary Thomas, missing since June 13th, 1986. So Slenderman's even going for the photographers. He's leaving no one behind, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, he can't be seen.
But he was seen. The photos still
Well,
found
but he
their
tried
way.
not to be.
Yeah, I guess. So already, Slenderman's kind of, not Slenderman, Victor Surge is kind of creating this mythos around these images, and that's what kind of separated it from all the other shit that was posted in the Photoshop contest.
Yeah.
I went through that original thread, and some of the other images were cool, but they didn't have the story to go along with it, which is what I think propelled Slenderman beyond all of those other things.
Users would start to give positive feedback to the photos, with one user stating, "This is going to give me nightmares."
What a fucking loser.
This is what I mean by Reddit tier comments. It's like, you were in a fucking thread about Photoshop, it being a Photoshop contest. I don't understand how you could say this is going to give me nightmares.
I can't give you updates for this one. It's too spooks.
Too spooky.
The kids are like, "He's right behind me, isn't he?" A few hours later, Eric would make another comment, playing into the story and acting like Slenderman is a real entity. "Maybe I'll do some more research. I've heard there may be a couple more legit Slenderman photographs out there. I'll post them if I find them."
Oh,
Victor
gee,
Surge.
he's right behind me, isn't he,
Yeah,
guys?
so Victor's doing all the hard work. He's going out there, going to the libraries, his
jeepers.
local libraries, collecting photos. I don't know. It's just it's a cute story that he's constructing, I guess, at this point. Like, people want to believe it.
I knew about the previous 2 pictures. I actually haven't seen this one before.
Neither
so
have I.
it's the picture of like someone taking a flash in front of a mirror with Slenderman standing
Nice.
over their shoulder. And it says, the next photo was posted by Victor Surge onto the Something Awful forums, was a picture of an ornate mirror in a dimly lit mansion. 3 women are seen taking a flash photo of the mirror, and the image captures a peculiar looking man looming behind them.
Man, what
The
a
picture
pussy.
was accompanied by writing that would go on to paint a story
Bird?
about the picture's origins.
Fuck out of here.
On 5/24/1995, it says, 1994 Wilkes Estate. One subject reported nothing out of the ordinary before taking photograph. Lower stairs area was said to be very dark. Subject states that after the camera flash, she heard a sound like a watermelon being unable to understand subject.
I
What?
don't know what that means.
Well, I
She
don't know what that
heard a
means.
sound like a watermelon.
Oh, fucking
Yeah,
Ninja
what,
Ryo
it's the Slenderman
Hayabusa.
carry. What was the guy that
I need
like
you.
smashes watermelons? Gallagher, right?
Yeah.
He just fucking
Okay.
carries around a sledgehammer and
I
smashes
don't know what
watermelons.
that means. Maybe it means someone's head got bashed or something. I don't know.
Maybe it was that he just like has because maybe tentacles, because he's got tentacles. They make
Maybe.
squelching noises.
That's
Oh, interesting
Gross.
theory.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Hatchet
5/25
Man,
of
longbow, and a spy
93.
mask.
Subject unable to recall events after manor power failure. Unable to question other 2 identified subjects. Camera and film acquired from Gloria Creedy, current resident of Woodview Mental Hospital and Psychological Rehabilitation Clinic. Film mostly uncontaminated despite massive blood and human tissue
Nah.
present on camera. No positive ID on anomalous, tall, and slender subject. Facial blur caused by possible contamination.
You mean we didn't find a match in the database of convicted criminals for the Slender Man?
We couldn't find any fingerprints, unfortunately.
Those damn tentacles.
So that's interesting. The people who took the picture wound up in a mental hospital. Then after that, on 6/7 of 93, it says, early digital analysis indicates tall subject may have no eyes. Anomalies, previously thought to be film errors and flash artifacts, now thought to be appendages.
Wait, so they had that photo for like a month, and then it took them a month to figure out that he may have no eyes just by eyeballing it and looking at the photo in that 1 month period of time? That's all
They're
they
not
came
very
up with?
good at what they
You
do, to
stupid
be
fucking
fair.
horse.
They never claim to be.
Why'd you tell
And
me to go
then
down
3
here?
days later, it says final identified subject reported missing, along with other 33 patients and staff of Woodview Mental Hospital and Psychological Rehabilitation Clinic South Wing. So basically,
Jesus.
Slender's kidnapping the people that saw him and all those associated.
Oh, okay. So the government's doing this?
No, I
apparently?
think it's the idea that
No, it's
Slender's
Slender
doing
Man.
it. Yeah.
Oh, so
Why would the government be taking away Slenderman citing people?
you know too much. I don't know. They're working for the Slender Man. Regardless, that's a high kill count for Slender Man. 33 people in one sitting.
That is a
Kinda
lot.
crazy.
Going on,
Yeah.
it says, unlike other posters contributing to the overall Photoshop competition, Victor Surge wasn't just posting edited photos, he was attempting to tell a story. Others are describing what they did to their photos, but when Eric is talking about the photos, he acts as if they are real. He dug these out of archives. He's
Oh,
looking
you
through
fucking
evidence,
pussy.
he's looking through
I
reports.
got that too.
This made his post stand out and made people want more, and more would come. On the same day of June the
I can't
11th,
grab him?
2009, he
What
posted
the
2
fuck?
more photos
What?
with no descriptions.
What?
But one would be
He's
different.
like a regular
So
average
we see
size
here the
guy.
one
What
of
the
Slender
fuck is
Man
this?
just outside of a window. I've seen this image before.
Yeah, that one's a very popular one.
Yeah.
It's so dumb.
I mean,
It is
I can only
mean,
grab him when
stupid.
he's
yeah,
out
it
of
is
key.
outrageously stupid he'd be that close, but I
Does it at
get
least
how this
open
works
up a
into the
regular
mythos that there's
small
like
guy
paranoia.
for critical? That would be
Look,
really
I'm
good.
trying to be a
At least.
defender of Slender Man. Okay?
Oh, I love Slender Man. Slender Man's always
Alright,
gonna
I'm
have a
fucking
special
up.
place.
You've
in
You've
my
got the
heart,
guy
but I-
standing in the
dead.
window with a rifle. Thinks he
Yeah,
sees
that's what I was just
something
laughing at. He's
outside.
got a hunting rifle.
3 out of 4. Come on.
What's Slender Man gonna do against that?
And then after that, we have what
Well, I
seems
got
to
his
be a
arm like
police
that.
department report, but where the stuff's supposed to be filled out, it's mostly scribbled. We see the scribbling, Slender Man, kill us already, kill us, kill us, kill us. Wilkes Place, which is that house, right, that the picture was
Yeah,
taken.
the mansion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there is a note from 6/11/93, which is the day after the people went missing from the asylum, where it says fog rolled in 3 p.m. It appeared at 3:27. Mark and Evan went outside, couldn't cover them, fog too thick. Screams and sounds like a baby laughing, but deeper.
That's a throwback. That's like a throwback to the Goatman episode where I said,
Yeah.
what was it, like a goat bleeding behind you on the bridge? It was
Yeah.
scary.
Okay, I would be more afraid of a baby crying in the woods than I would a goat.
Well, that'd be more concerning than a goat for sure, because a baby shouldn't be there. But it's also
Right.
still not a concerning sound if the baby's laughing. It's like, oh, okay, that's cool, I guess.
Someone's having fun out here.
Yeah, it's a party.
I do want to hear what a baby would sound like deep, though. Like a deep
Fuck
voice.
over here.
They just sound like one of us laughing.
That's how babies laugh, yeah.
They hear Moist Critical laughing in the woods behind them.
Yeah, that would be terrifying.
It's
You're my
it's
slave
out
now.
in the fog.
Come on.
We may be a little outside of town,
Fucking
but
Voldo, Jesus
someone
Christ.
will come. And then 2 days later, rest of us can't sleep, no food, no power. And then 1 day later, what does it want? Tom showed me that
Fucking bitch.
Weird
Some-
case
Hold on
file.
now.
weird case file. There you go.
Yeah, it's written legibly down below. I like
Yeah.
transcribed it. Well, not so much the next one.
Oh, I
Next
did.
one
Oh,
doesn't
I
make
didn't
sense.
see that you were. I was trying to read all of that
You
off
were
the
trying to-
note. I didn't see you had it typed out. Oh, that would have been better. Okay.
You did well. I
Thank
didn't
you.
realize you weren't reading from it until just then.
Ooh,
And then 1 day
pretty smooth.
later,
I can
it
see his
says
dick.
Wilkes Place, and then it's
It was
scribbled
small.
out after
Yeah,
that. So
it's
again,
all-
the house that all this is supposedly happening at.
Well, it says like Wilkes Place and then same. So I think he's saying
Big
like
hands,
the thing
big
from
feet,
Wilkes
The
Place
same
is the same
creature.
thing as this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's doing it like a Redditor would though. Slender Man, kill us already, kill us, kill. Okay, so they're getting edgy with it.
Kill
Yeah,
me,
so after that,
Slendy.
after the note, it says the scribblings
me,
on the
Daddy.
document seem to be from the perspective of police officers serving and protecting the community in this made-up world Victor Surge was creating. The note even mentions Wilkes Place, calling back to the previous post Eric made and showing an overarching connecting story and environment. The photo of the man looking out the window and seeing Slenderman could be taken from within the department. That's a good point. You could see some obvious inspiration in Eric's story, with one being Stephen King's The Mist, which Eric would go on to confirm in an interview later on. Oh, that's interesting. Well, that's cool. Those were both like really important stories to me as a kid, so it's cool that they inspired each other. These images were highly effective with the something.
I don't think Stephen King's The Mist was inspired by Slenderman.
No, it was a mutually symbiotic relationship.
Okay, correct. One was inspired off the other. Thank you. Not that Stephen King read Slenderman. It was like, there's some good ideas in here.
Yeah. I like what they're doing with The Mist.
These images were highly effective, with the user Zombie Scholar commenting, "You're an amazing and terrible bastard, sir." What? That is the most well played. That is the most Reddit phrase. You are an amazing and terrible bastard, sir. Well played.
Just take your updoots and go, my good sir.
Now to look over my shoulder every couple seconds for the rest of my day.
Oh my gosh.
Why are these images of this guy with a hunting rifle looking at a like cartoonish figure outside, making you like paranoid for the rest of your day? You're in a fucking thread called contest, Photoshop contest. God damn it.
They didn't have a lot to work with, okay? Like, you had to take what scares you could.
Yeah.
The next day on June the 12th, 2009, Eric would post 6 more images. And these are all, again, more world-building stuff.
I can fly at least to these
children's
public orders from
drawings
this
of them
banner.
next to Slenderman. One shows, I think, his
nice.
tentacles covered in blood, attacking Jake, age 7, or at least Jake's the one making the picture.
Clean flight.
I think Jake's the one that drew it. Or maybe Slenderman drew it.
Wow.
Oh no, Jake's signature.
I think Jake drew it.
One of the few times I get to
watch
flying in
another
this
kid
game.
get killed by the tentacles.
This is nice.
Oh, true. Yeah.
And then there's a birthday party invitation for Jake that says it's Saturday, May 18th, which is before the events of all this stuff.
I forgot I was going fast.
I believe, by the way, that's a Triceratops silhouette. So if that has anything to do with the story, if that's the connection.
Thank you for that.
I have my fucking glider wing max upgraded.
Your dinosaur special interest.
He's an ancient entity dating all the way back to the Paleolithic era.
that Triceratops was the Slenderman's first victim.
Yeah, not many people know that Slenderman is a Triceratops, actually.
Yeah.
There's a picture of like an adult with some kids. Looks like maybe a birthday party or like
I'll just
park setting. I don't know.
Did you notice Slenderman in the background of that picture though?
The boring way.
I didn't actually.
Look behind the trees.
Just glazed by that one. Yeah, never. Yeah. You can
don't
see
get
him in the
nearly
trees
enough
back there.
stamina
You
for
can see
flying
his
in this
suit.
game.
Yeah. He looks way too close here. He looks way like
in
anyone
Zelda,
would
you
be
could
like,
fly
"Hey,
for
you, what are you?"
Yeah, who's that tall suited guy standing behind the trees?
There's a little drawing from Rebecca where she portrays the same thing, and then there's a newspaper report that says a local boy, an 8-year-old boy named Jake Greenwood, which I imagine is the same Jake from the pictures, has disappeared.
Fucking ninja up there, I see him.
So those are the 6 extra pictures that were dumped the next day.
Yep. So the story I took from this, and I'm not sure.
How'd you hear me? What?
It's up for interpretation. That's the great thing about art.
Did you hear my bell?
Can glean any kind of interpretation from it.
Whatever.
My interpretation was that Slenderman kind of created a relationship with Jake, and Jake was drawing pictures of him, and then Jake had a birthday party, and Slenderman abducted him shortly after his birthday party, or even at his birthday party, since he's there at the birthday party, and then started haunting a girl named Rebecca, who would then draw
what a bitch.
Slenderman as well.
He heard the
I think
bell?
you immediately read way too deep into it. So I think it's pretty clear. Slenderman found Jake, abducted Jake, and Jake just drew pictures about that.
Bell upgrade
and that
so the dog
birthday
can't
party
hear it?
invitation was like the evidence left behind. And then Rebecca just happened to see Slenderman while she was out on a walk with her mom.
Wait, so Jake got abducted and then Slenderman gave him pieces of paper to draw on?
Yeah, so that's one of the things about Slenderman that got established is he doesn't necessarily kill them. He just kidnaps them, and they're like their own little family unit.
Yeah, but they don't come back. Oh,
how did that headshot not get
How did we
him?
get the photos?
He must have left them in the forest or something, and someone stumbled
You have
upon
to find
them.
the pages. They're on the trees. Come on, Jackson. This is basic lore world building. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Get him, dog.
Yeah. No, I still think I'm right.
Yours is stupid. Why would he form a relationship with Jake at his birthday party?
Look, he's behind the trees. He was clearly there at the birthday party.
To abduct kids, not to
to abduct them. It's not like he's invited and he was like the friend.
I never said he was invited. I just said he formed a relationship. No, I said that he formed a relationship with him somewhere before the birthday party. But then the birthday party is when he abducted him. Is what I assume.
I just don't know why they have to know each other. He just kidnaps kids.
I'm kind of glad these guys are dumb because it makes the stealth fun.
Okay, he clearly
you could have
knows.
fun stealth with
they know each other.
Smart enemies, but
Jake's been drawing pictures.
that's
of them,
not. I'm not gonna find that here. I'll take
Post
this.
abduction.
Yeah,
I'll
but
take
you're
dumb
saying that's
enemies
post-abduction. All right.
with nice
All right.
action
I guess
stuff.
both are possible.
Public disturbance. Oh, I'm gonna do that.
All right, so
I'm gonna
let me read the
what the
let me
fuck
read
is
the
this?
newspaper clipping. His mother reported
two
seeing
little
him playing in
hemorrhoids
the
stuck
trees of
to
his
each other
backyard
there.
prior to his disappearance, and noticed nothing suspicious. So would that be the same trees that he's standing behind in the party picture?
Yeah, there's also only 2 of them, so it's not like he'd be playing behind the trees not being seen. Like, you can see everything from those tiny trees.
It's also in like the middle of a row of houses as well. Like,
yeah.
What's going on?
He's
here?
completely exposed in someone's front yard. Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
Bro, you guys are
anyone
having
walking by
a
can see
fucking
Slender Man
fighting
hanging behind those
competition. How
trees.
about you fight these
Anyway,
fucking Shogun
So
here?
that came along with
The
a
fuck?
like
They
a
have the same. It's the end of the game, and they have the
description
same
from
exact like
Victor
fucking
Surge
open
saying,
world
alert
random
deployment
quests
request.
happening. Like they didn't fucking
Anti-S
switch it up at
Walker
all.
unit to deploy to
Jesus
Wichita,
fucking Christ.
Kansas, which is where the abduction happened. So
fucking
they have
no
an
variety.
anti-Slender Man
No
Walker
variety
unit,
at
I
all.
suppose, in the government.
It's just
I
all
see.
in the
So
combat.
it's like an
Yeah,
SCP
naturally.
thing. He's trying.
Yeah, this was where SCP started kind of becoming a theme in this. There was a government body set up to handle Slender Man. So, do you want to continue, Isaiah?
But this is kind of just what you said here.
Yeah, so
Oh,
the basic
yeah.
description of the photos, we talked about that. After these photos were posted, almost everyone in the thread was talking about Slenderman and praising Eric's images. The focus of the thread went
I
from
wanna
being a Photoshop
see-
contest to
wanna
ostensibly
do a
one
sound
about the
check real
Slenderman
quick.
itself.
Because I did
One user
switch
would
up
say-
the audio, just so the game can be heard properly.
So someone stumbled upon him. He just kidnaps them, and they're like their own little family unit.
Yeah, but they don't come back. Oh,
How
yeah, they don't
did
come
that
back.
headshot not
Did
get
we
him?
get the photos?
They must have left them in the forest or something, and someone
You
stumbled
have to
upon
find
them.
the pages. They're on the trees. Come on.
Alright, so this is actually fucking loud. Like I thought.
Hey,
Okay.
This entire series of images is fabulous, but this one is a killer. Purely because all the little kids I work with never colored the sky all the way to the ground, just like this. It's very plausible detail and adds the extra touch of authenticity.
So that's referring to the picture
Yeah.
that Rebecca drew. So Victor Surge is quite good at replicating the art style of a child, apparently.
Yeah. Thank you, Victor. Later in the day, on June the 12th of 2009, Eric would post 2 more photos. This one I've seen a ton. The one of him like on stilts, like tentacle stilts in the woods.
Yeah. Oh, so that's what he does with his tentacles. He uses them to walk around while he like hovers in the air.
Yeah, it's
menacingly.
like the anchor arms from SpongeBob, but with like 4 tendrils.
Living like Larry. The caption for it said Steinman Woods.
How did
both
that
subjects
not
were
scare
hunting in
you?
the Steinman Woods 4 hours before sundown. Surviving subject states that while hunting, both men grew uneasy as fog levels
He's dumb.
rapidly increased. A constant murmuring sound accompanied by a low hum eventually became apparent
these guys
to the 2
fucking
men
suck.
an hour after the fog increased. An object falling out of the tree struck one of the men in the left shoulder, causing him to discharge his weapon. Object said to be the body of a man of unknown age. It was very precisely dissected with major... Wait, hold on. An object fell out of a tree, and then it turns out the object was a body. Okay, I see.
A piece of a body.
A piece of a body, okay. It was very precisely dissected, with major internal organs still contained within the rib cage in what looked to be clear bags. Surviving subjects placed organ bag within backpack. Attack followed several minutes later after a low children's laugh, like a giggle. Surviving subject ran until he reached his vehicle. Subject then drove to assumed safety.
Okay, so the whole children's like laughter and stuff. So that like adds credence to the theory that he's kidnapping kids and keeping them alive, and they're just like haunting with him. They're like part of his posse, right? That's the theory.
Well, it's not a theory, that's just his lore, yeah.
That he brings kids with him. maybe.
It's
Right.
just a
Or
theory.
possesses them
Oh,
in
I
some
can
way.
jump up and
But
assassinate
what's with
them.
the
I'll just run
dissection?
around
Is
and
that
kill 'em.
implying that like Slender
faster.
dissects people and puts their organs in bags?
Let's get you first.
Yeah, well, there is in the very next
Get that guy.
Okay, all right.
description they talk about it. Yeah.
Okay, so after that,
Fucking ninja up on the
it says
hill
that the
over there.
backpack was destroyed, talking
The
about
fuck
the
is that, a
organs, and that the
fugitive?
surviving subject is classified as a B7 witness.
Oh, this
B7
guy.
witness
What
to
are
be
you
placed in a
doing?
quarantine blind
Get over
box
here.
until resolution, whatever that
So
means.
the government is kidnapping people.
I mean, people who have like witnessed Slender, but the government didn't kidnap the wing of 33 people.
Unless they witness Slenderman. Why would they
Okay,
not?
maybe, but I don't think that's what the implication is.
Where are you
The
going?
implication is that Slenderman kidnapped them. But
Yeah,
they weren't even
yeah.
children. He's only kidnapping children, isn't he?
Yeah, but
Or is
he went after someone who saw him previously at the house.
Yeah.
And then into the other picture in the woods, again of
Great.
him like stood up,
Great
looking
fight.
very spider-like in the trees. Since 2007, investigation team discovered 22 bodies of both genders and various ages impaled on broken tree branches in a radiating circle pattern with chest mutilation as often noted with Slenderman. Upon confirmation, lead investigator redacted called for an immediate evacuation of investigation team at 1700 hours. Bodies first discovered at 1100 hours. Deadline for safe evacuation of team with only viewed physical evidence of Slenderman approximately 1730. Lost contact of team at 1725.
Damn.
Safety procedures fell well within established protocols. Reason for abnormality is unknown. Second team recovered camera equipment 1 week later.
Oh, I don't
Slenderman's
need
safety
you. My bad.
procedure required this
Shut up.
incident's physical photographic evidence to be disposed of by no later than 10:20. Is this your writing the next part? I
No,
honestly
no,
Yeah,
no,
what-
no, no,
what
no,
is
no.
that?
That was
Okay.
so
This is
sloppy.
him.
I got so lucky.
okay, remember Victor Surge is a character that is like
Finding all
researching this
this,
stuff.
yeah.
Oh,
so
right.
then he comments on what he just found.
Nice.
So Victor Surge says, honestly,
bro,
don't
you
get
didn't
what
see me
half
just
this
assassinate
poo-poo
your bro?
means. I'm
Why
I'm
did
done
you
with
immediately
this.
assume that I wrote that?
Because
Yeah,
I
I
was
don't
like,
know,
this. I was like,
just
this
gonna come
doesn't
out the
seem like a
corner,
field
assassinate
report.
them.
The next line.
Yeah, there's no investigator.
How did you not
who's
get
gonna be like,
scared
"Man,
by
this poo-poo is crazy," and then smokes a cigar.
There's no Jackson that would say that either.
There's plenty of times I can hear you saying like, "Oh man, this is all poo-poo," and I don't get it.
I've never once said poo-poo. I've never once acted like that.
It's more likely you would say it than an investigator would say it. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Mm,
well,
okay.
It's more likely that Victor Surge said it because that's what actually happened. So
Okay.
yeah, we can
I
continue.
honestly don't
like
get
that
what half
attack.
this poo-poo means. I'm
I like
done with this
slide
Slenderman
past them.
stuff. It's
They can
starting
miss
to
a
make
lot
me
of their
uneasy.
quick attacks.
It's like reading the GBS
This class
ghost
may
story
be
threads before I go to
fucking
bed. Why do I have to
OP?
look at all this stuff while it's super late? It's frowny face.
Yeah, that's the actual frowny face used in that,
Yeah, I
in
said
that
OP.
message as well.
Luckily,
Yeah, give me that
my
shit
friend
back.
is coming over.
Aw, hope it's a
Aw.
good
Public
friend.
order.
It's gonna have a
Jesus
nice
Christ,
ending.
they're everywhere.
I'm sure
I'm,
this story.
I'm sure it will.
Let's fuck 'em up.
Because right after that, it's written,
The pleasure
in Eric's
district,
world,
the pussy
Slenderman is a
district.
known entity. There are procedures for when
This should have been
people
the first place
encounter
we cleared
Slenderman.
out.
This adds more detail and
Sorry about
color
that,
to the
ladies.
story and
I'm
makes
coming.
it seem like
You'll
Slenderman
be
is an active
soon, too.
threat that the public has to constantly be on the lookout for. The last part seems to come from Eric's point of view, with him commenting on his investigation. Finally, on June the 13th, 2009, Eric would post his last photo and description. I've never seen this one before.
I've
pretty
seen
cool.
this one. This one looks like an early AI generated photo,
It
like
actually
Mid-Journey.
does.
It does,
It's
yeah.
pretty cool.
Huh. It's neat.
Huh.
It's, the caption for it says, for the audio listeners, it's like in a house, someone's running up a staircase, and then it's like a blurry Slenderman, but you can see like the impressions of the face.
I got your nose.
And he's reaching his hands out towards the camera. And it says, "My
Yeah.
friend is Heragus? What?
Here, just.
Oh, my friend is here. Just
Fucking
came
asshole, fuck
in,
you.
barely made upstairs. Got picture, locked door, but it's right there in the hall. Don't look at its pictures. It doesn't want to be known about. Don't look."
Well, then why'd you post them, you dick?
Idiot. Yeah. Keep it a secret.
No one look
Yeah,
at
what
these
the fuck?
pictures that I'm posting right here.
What the
Close
fuck?
your eyes when viewing these photos.
That's gonna be your dying message. You prick. It's me.
As user www.jabusto.
Wait, this
would
is
go
also
on
a
to
public
comment,
order in the same
"Oh,
exact
Jibbus."
spot. I fought these
This one
enemies in the
is
same.
in
They had
the
this
Willies.
same Western guy on that boat, and they had two guys here on land. Yeah, and a guy on the roof over there.
Oh, I love something.
Man, this
awful
fucking
fun.
game.
Oh man, I'm
Just
so
fucking
glad we
recycle.
found Reddit to
Team
corral
Ninja
these
loves to
people
just
in.
I
fucking
thought Reddit was
recycle
like a new
everything.
thing. I thought the internet
sell it
back
for
in like
$70,
2009,
call it
whenever
next
this was, I
gen.
think it was 2009.
Fucking
was so
bullshit.
much cooler. But looking back, it's always been this Reddit tier.
It is
bullshit.
always.
I get that people like the game. There's no
100%.
problem with
Yeah,
that.
it's
It's
just
just
like
one of those
fucking.
rose-tinted
It's
glasses
just not
things.
acceptable
Like,
for
people
70
think
fucking
the internet
dollars.
was different, like
Why
the
the fuck
attitude
is
was
this?
different. But if you go
I
back
take-
and read a
I
bunch
take
of
console
old threads, it's
exclusive.
the same goddamn
I take this
Redditor
as a
attitude.
console
Yeah,
exclusive.
OG Bis.
Like,
This
give
one's
us Team
giving me the
Ninja.
willies. Like,
They
who
make
says
great
that?
games. Don't charge 70
Then
fucking
it
dollars.
continues
God damn.
and says usually subtle works
Look at
best,
these
but
fucking
sometimes
graphics to
the
pop
blatant
in.
ones scare
Just
me
the open
more.
world explorations,
I
the repetitive
really-
activities and missions.
I really want to read
everything.
a Slender Man horror novel
fucking
now
slop.
with pictures.
They
what's a
stretch
picture book?
fucking Wolong Fallen Dynasty into a big open
With
world,
pop-ups.
and it still fucking sucks. Still the same repetitive
I'll
shit.
go ahead and take the conclusion
God.
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
The ending to this story does seem abrupt, but Eric has stated he wanted to end the story the way that it would be the scariest. Responding to another poster, he said, "Yeah, I wanted the last set of images to be more obvious, since the people taking the pictures kinda knew what they were dealing with and therefore could get better shots before it wiped them out. And I kinda wanted to bring it to a close. I'm glad everyone enjoyed it, although initially it hadn't been my intent to do more past the first picture post. What essentially inspired me was stuff like the rake, since that pretty much terrified me. Having an unearthly creature such as a skinwalker or something stalking you has always been much scarier than ghosts, in my opinion."
Agreed. Do you get the rake influence, Isaiah?
I'm actually kind of surprised because if you would have asked before we read this, I would have guessed that Slender Man was before the rake. So it's surprising to see that it's the other way around. That's interesting.
Yeah.
After this last post, everyone in the thread would continue to talk about the Slender Man within the context of the now newly born creepypasta that would go on to share with people who weren't familiar with something awful. The spirit of the Slender Man would continue on, with users creating their own photos of the entity and adding their own contributions to the lore. In many ways, Slender Man would be an extension to the budding realm of collaborative creepypasta storytelling elements that things like SCP Foundation cemented. It's undeniable, regardless, that Eric posting these photos would change internet creepypasta culture forever and inspire
Oh,
countless
you
stories
fucking
from
asshole. You're
others.
gonna make me go across the bridge.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Basically, yeah.
that's kind of like the
Fuck
beginning of the Slender Man. That's what Victor Surge created
Fuck
for
you.
us. The entirety of his creation, his direct creation.
That's pretty fascinating. I didn't realize the original had that much lore attached to it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of like lore was included in these photos, but I was also surprised at how quickly it kind of happened. It was all in the span of like a day,
A week.
basically.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is this
Yeah.
guy?
No, it was like 4 days, right?
It was very quick. Yeah.
What the fuck is this?
Regardless,
Thus
it
a
was very
legend
Cheating.
was born.
Wow, he
Yeah,
looks kind of
so
unique.
it just kind
I
of
don't think I've-
spread out from there. Like people would take those photos and then post them on other internet forums without all of that kind of
looks kinda
context
cool.
or knowledge of where it came from, and they'd be like, "Oh man, look at this creepy photo. Pretty scary, huh?" And then idiots like me who didn't know anything about Photoshop or knew that images
This class
could be
is
edited
kinda
would be
weak.
like, "Holy shit, Slender Man is actually real. That's crazy." So that's
Come
how
on,
it kind
bitch.
of gained its popularity in general.
I'm not going on
And
the fire.
the
Fuck you.
proliferation would continue with
Check
a
out my sword.
YouTube channel
Get in the
called
big boy
Marble
class.
Hornets, which was created on June 19th, 2009. So that's very recent. Well, very soon after Slender Man was actually created. And how do you wanna explain and describe
Oh, suck my dick.
Marble Hornets, Isaiah?
Yeah, Marble Hornets
Suck
was
my
a classic for me. Got me into like early internet horror. Shortly after Eric's posting
I was
something
ready
off
to
the
parry
forums,
that.
a YouTube channel called Marble Hornets was created on June 19th of 2009. This would be the first
Pussy.
series to be created around
Oh
Slender Man.
yeah.
This would also be a very early example
Pussy
of an
District is
alternate
free.
reality game or ARG.
Enjoy your dick and pussy,
The
ladies
series
and
would become
gentlemen.
extremely successful.
Enjoy
the
your
channel has
ass for the
garnered over
evening.
660,000
It's free.
subs on YouTube and over
on me.
118 million views on the channel. Even early on, the channel would have success, as by
Pussy's
August
on me
28th of
this
2009,
this
the channel
evening.
had almost 2,000 subscribers and thousands of views. The series would end up receiving a spin-off series, a comic book series, and a spin-off film called Always Watching, a Marble Hornets story. This shows that early on, the concept of Slender Man was intriguing to the public and people wanted to see more.
So can you describe Marble
Shit, I
Hornets?
gotta ride all the
since
fuck the
you've
way out there,
probably watched
So
it?
goddamn.
basically, the idea behind Marble Hornets is that it was a guy who was like a college student who was originally trying to make a documentary, but started to run into this figure, and he's never referred to as Slender Man. He's called it's
Watcher?
something.
or something
the
like
Watcher. It's something like the Architect or the.
Oh yeah, the Architect. I think
It's not the. I forget what he's called. I can look it up real quick. But basically, it's our main character like chronicling Slender Man slowly getting closer to him, and how proxies of Slender Man are getting closer. And it's him saying he doesn't understand what this creature is. He goes to different places
Yeah,
to
that
try to
shit's
discover
far.
it. It's a really interesting
Open up
horror
the map.
series, and honestly, it works as both like a found footage film when you watch the whole thing together,
Yeah.
and one of the earliest examples of like internet horror.
I
or,
missed
like,
this
ARG
one.
stuff.
At large.
yeah, it was very effective. I remember watching it at the time and being
Is he
actually
still at
genuinely
large?
pretty scared watching it, which was fun.
He's dead.
I'm trying to remember the name as well. I'm trying to look through it. The operator.
Slicer?
That's it, the operator. Yeah, that's
Is
what
he
they call
really
him.
still there?
Yeah, and then they also
So
did
see-
some really cool stuff like
Or is it bugged?
ARGs and stuff like that on a Cryptic Side channel that was called To the Ark, stuff like that. It was a very fun series, and it was very popular, and it continued on for a while. It had over 130 episodes. Obviously, with something that long, it kind of, lost its impact towards the end or whatever. It kind of dragged on a little bit, but still.
That's to be expected, though.
Yeah.
Something that spans that length of time with the same subject there.
I'm so down.
Yeah. But it was very effective for what it attempted to do.
And then even after that, you have in June 26th of 2012, the Slender Man 8 Pages game came out.
Yes.
Which, I mean, as we all know, that's how I think I found people like Markiplier and PewDiePie and stuff like that. So
Yep.
yeah.
This game was massive.
Yeah.
This game was talked about even outside of like the internet space. I
Yeah.
remember in high school.
Yes.
This is where people were talking about like the scariest game ever made. Have you ever played Slender?
Yep.
It's like nothing else. And then it's based on this like entity that like captures children. It's a real story. So like it's spread by word of mouth like
Yep.
wildfire from this game.
Yeah, I remember in high school we used to all play it together. Like we'd go home, or we'd have like a hangout after school and like all take turns playing it and getting scared together and shit like that.
I consider it probably one of the worst horror games ever made because it spawned that entire genre of
just
go
walking
into
around.
just random asset flipped area and just find like trivial little fucking pieces of a scavenger
So the
hunt.
red
while
dot
getting jump scared
fugitives are
occasionally.
still there.
It's the worst format for horror that even to this day, 12 years later, games are emulating daily. Like that is still the most common horror genre, or the most common horror game that gets pumped out in the genre.
Yeah, but did you like it at the time?
Yeah, of course, it was huge for the time, but looking back on it, I wish it just never got made because that shit ruined horror games like forever.
Yeah, I think it's cool as a one and done kind of concept.
Yeah, no, it definitely was for its time.
Yeah, I think it holds a special place in my heart. Like even my mum was like, "Let's play Slender Man the 8 Pages. I want to play that.
I might
that
have
looks
to
fun."
shit.
So it was like a bonding experience for like the entire family. Really, it was kind of crazy the impact and reach that it had.
Yeah.
From such a simple concept. And you can see it as well. Like I've got a picture here of Google Trends. You can see the search term relevancy
More
of
repetitive
Slenderman
open world
just
missions.
fucking
Help,
absolutely
somebody's running amok.
skyrocketing when the Slenderman the 8-page game was
Yeah.
released.
Yeah.
Like it was enormous.
And it
was
never left
enormous.
either because it just put it in everyone's mind. So like you have written here as well. Like Slenderman became a super common figure. Like in the early 2010s, there'd be a Halloween costume for Slenderman that was popular. There was references in media across everywhere referencing Slenderman. I didn't know this, but apparently some people speculate the Enderman character in Minecraft is actually based off Slenderman.
Yeah.
It's used in memes. Like he was just legitimately infiltrating every facet of internet life and even outside of
Sorry,
that.
boys. Sorry.
So then in
I didn't mean to upset you.
2018, this is what I want to talk about. They finally released the Slender Man horror film. It was directed by Sylvian White, written by David Burke, and it released August 10th, 2018, and was universally hated by everyone. It has a 16% score on Rotten Tomatoes, a 3.2 out of 10 on IMDb, and the film would come with controversy when the trailer for the film was released, as some thought it was inappropriate to release the film so soon after the well-known and publicized Slender Man stabbings. So I saw this film in theaters with Kaya, actually. This came out when you guys were still in town.
Why did I not go see it? Yeah. Oh, maybe I was fucking hungover from the poisoning that Kaya gave me.
No, you might have been too scared, potentially. You came down
I was
with a
about to
big
say, if
case
you don't
of...
grab
Wait,
that
no,
ladder from the
yeah,
glider,
but yes, true. But
fucking
also,
over.
I was probably at Disney World during that.
I'm dead.
God, what
Maybe.
so lame. Have you ever seen the movie, Jackson?
No, I haven't.
You have to. So this film is an absolute disaster. I think it took like 4 or 5 years just to make it. Like it got caught
Who
in
the fuck's
production
on me?
hell. So by the time it came out, that initial wave of absurd hype was gone. So it came out way too late. It was still rushed. Like, nothing in the film worked well at all. It ruined a lot of, like, the core elements of the Slender Man story as well. It couldn't get even the established stuff correct. It wasn't scary. It was trash. Visually horrible. Everything that could go wrong with a horror movie went wrong with the Slender Man film. And I think that's what kind of buried Slender Man as, like, a scary figure in a lot of people's eyes. It made him more as just kind of like this tired joke that he kind of is today, where people look at Slender Man.
Yeah, that was the turning point for Slender Man, I think. And you're right, like, it was announced a few years before it released. You said 5 years? I'm not sure about that.
It was quite a few years. It wasn't like a quick turnaround or anything. This got stuck in a limbo of production.
Yes,
Oh shit.
14. No, wait, no. On January 2018, the first teaser post was revealed. Not sure. Regardless, when it was first announced, I remember like a lot of excitement for it. Like,
Yeah, people
holy
were
shit,
hyped.
this internet thing is being made into a movie.
All right,
and it's
I'm
awesome.
gonna finish
It has
this
a big
joint then
budget as
lock in.
$50 million
Got a tiny little bit
US. Released by Sony.
And I want to find some
so
more
it had
videos
big,
to add
big,
to the
you
queue.
know, big production
So I
company
don't
behind
run
it.
out. And shit gets all quiet. Why the fuck does it always do that? Just keep the video playing. I just went to YouTube Home. There we go. Oh, excuse me.
Office? No, I want a small sweet tea, ma'am.
You should really try the mango passion fruit seasonal beverage.
I gotta stop. Find some shit to watch. Stop watching funny shorts. I think Angry Joe's got some shit. He's too loud, man. Fuck. Can't put him on my speaker. Oh my god. Let's go to... Fuck it, let's just watch, where's, Kind of Funny Games. Yo, what is this? No Final Fantasy? No bitches? No bussy? Phil's big interview. Let's do that.
Behind it. Everything was expected to go well for it, and instead it fucking bombed. It released, and like Charlie said, it was an awful movie from what I've heard, and it made a box office. Oh wait, no, sorry, I got that the wrong way around. It didn't bomb. $28 million budget. The box office was $50 million. So it probably like broke even at the end of the day when you account for marketing and stuff like that. So that's not as bad as I thought.
No, I mean there were still curious enough people to go see it for sure.
What up, Sexy?
Regardless, very bad movie.
Terrible movie. And what you referenced there at the end is there was controversy because not too long before that, the Slender Man stabbings happened, which is a real thing that happened on May 31st, 2014. I thought it was later than that. I didn't know it was in 2014. But in Wisconsin, two young girls named Morgan Geyser and Anissa Wire lured another girl by the name of Peyton Lutner into a local park called David's Park during a sleepover. They lured her there under the guise that they would be playing hide and seek. They were 12 years old at the time, and unknown to Peyton, Morgan and Anissa had different plans. Once they're in the woods, the two girls would pin Peyton to the ground, and Geyser would stab Peyton 19 times with a kitchen knife. The girls would leave her in the woods to die, but miraculously, Peyton wasn't fatally wounded. She would go on to crawl out of the woods onto a bike path where a passerby would find her and call for help. Peyton incredibly survived the attack and would go on to make a full recovery and end up leaving the hospital 7 days after the attack. 19 stabs and gets out of the hospital within a week. What a fucking champion.
The legend. I don't know how you survive 19 stab wounds.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, the two girls here, Morgan and Anissa, would be apprehended by the police, and when interrogated, they said they did it to please Slender Man. They wanted to become proxies of Slender Man and did the stabbing in the woods because that's where they believed he supposedly lived. They believed that if they committed the murder, they would win Slender Man's approval and would live with him in his hidden mansion. Shortly after the attack, Eric Knudsen felt compelled to make a statement. I am deeply saddened by the tragedy in Wisconsin, and my heart goes out to the families of those affected by this terrible act.
Shit, imagine how shit you must feel having created something that would, like, it's not his fault, obviously, but I'm sure you feel somewhat guilty at that point, being like,
because it inspired them to believe in it and do something like absolutely deplorable.
I would assume that they didn't even like engage with the original Something Awful post or anything like that. It would have been based entirely off that video game. That's what my gut feeling
Well,
is.
I mean, it's like they just made it up, right? At least in all the stories I've read, there's never any lore saying normal people who do evil acts become proxies or whatever. Like, it just seems like they had like a nugget to work off of with Slender Man, and then like mental illness or what have you, did the rest.
Yeah. So, Morgan's actions are considered to be due to her poor mental state and schizophrenia. Anissa was also suffering from delusions as well, seemingly bolstered by Morgan's similar mental state and convincing behavior. Both of their delusions of Slender Man would feed off each other, resulting in them believing Slender Man was real through pure self-affirmation. Once Anissa was separated from Morgan, her delusions died down, which is usually the case with scenarios like this. And there's usually a primary person who has more severe delusions, and that was Morgan. So Morgan would end up being sentenced to 40 years to life in a mental institution.
Jesus.
As of January 2024, Morgan has requested to be released, and her hearing is scheduled to be in April 2024. Anissa would be sentenced to 25 years in a mental institution, but would end up being released after 7. She was released with multiple stipulations, including a GPS monitor, supervision at all times, and a ban on social media usage. Right now, Anissa's whereabouts are unknown, but it is said she's attending college. In an interview with Peyton conducted by ABC in 2019, when she was asked what she would say to her attackers, she said, "I would probably initially thank her. I would say, just because of what she did, I have the life I have now. I really, really like it, and I have a plan. I didn't have a plan when I was 12, and now I do because of everything that I went through. I wouldn't think that someone who went through that I did. I wouldn't think someone who went through what I did would ever say that. That's truly how I feel. Without the whole situation, I wouldn't be who I am."
I mean,
well, that's a very positive outlook on a tragedy.
Yeah. I'm sure that's like coping with it as well, which is fair to say. Like, you would want to spin it into a positive.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck kind of therapist she was talking
to. It should have obviously.
Oh, it was actually a good
like
thing that those young girls stabbed you.
Delusion from these two individuals that kind of fed off each other.
Look at the bright side.
What's crazy to me is the 25 years for one of them as opposed to the 40 years, because from what I've read, they were both very like equally culpable. Like, one stabbed, one did the stabbing for sure, but I believe there was a quote
do some fucking
like
ninja stuff.
she asked the other one for permission before stabbing her, and the other one said something like to the effect of, "Yeah, do it, go ballistic." So there was like an equal level of dedication and motivation from both individuals in my eyes.
It probably where they were minors, like they had, psychiatrists rule and be like, this person is very easily suggestive, right? And the other one seems to be the instigator, so I imagine that's what it came down to.
But in this case, the instigator, the one that said the things like, "Yeah, do it, go ballistic," was the one that was sentenced to 25 years, which I just found a bit odd.
Was it? I thought Morgan was the more violent one.
She was the more violent one, but there were quotes in that moment where Morgan asked Anissa Wearer something to the effect of, "I'll only do it if you tell me to do it," and then Anissa Wearer's like, she says, "Yes, do it, go ballistic."
Again, it likely just comes down to they were minors. It was more of a psychiatric, judging rather than a criminal one.
Fuck you.
Yeah. 25 years is a long time.
Dumb bitch.
It's a long time to be stuck in somewhere, even if they only did 7. Like,
yeah. But they're, well, two of
Why
them,
couldn't I fucking
well,
critical him
not
from
two
far
of
like
them.
normal?
Anissa is out
What the
now
fuck
and
was that?
apparently in college, and from all accounts, what's her name? Peyton is living a good life, so that's good. Good outcome for her. As for Morgan, she's still in prison, or not prison, the mental institution. Maybe released later this year. We'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, very, very chilling stuff and a very sad outcome overall to the Slender Man.
Yeah, I remember when all that was
Put that
happening,
fucking
having to
down,
convince
white
my
pussy.
parents, like, no, we're not reading stories that tell us to kill our friends. This is just...
Oh yeah, actually,
Fucking
I didn't even
Oxford,
consider
goddammit.
what that might do for like parents and stuff.
Oh yeah, well my parents were like freaked out, and most parents were. They were like, "Oh no, like, or is this what this is? This is the horror stories you read, like telling you to kill people and stuff?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know where they got this from. This is a
Yeah.
one case. It didn't happen again." Yeah.
It's just mental illness. I can't think of a single other creepypasta that's kind of motivated someone to murder.
Momo.
What happened there?
This wasn't even long ago. You guys don't remember Momo?
I remember
Where
Momo. Yeah.
Yeah, parents were
I
freaking
don't.
out because like Momo was telling the kids to hurt themselves. That kind
Yeah,
of shit.
yeah.
And I think there was a case of someone actually hurting
Well,
themselves.
Yeah, I meant like an actual murder, enacted or attempted because of a creepypasta.
Oh, well, no, not necessarily, yeah. This is probably super unique in that respect, but it's not unique in the fact that people take creepypasta and think that they're real.
Yeah.
Or, like, do something about it in the real world.
All right. So, in conclusion, in an interview with Eric Knudsen talking about the Slender Man, he said that his goal with the character was to make him simple, which is, I can see that. It definitely started pretty simple. He describes the Slender Man as an open source creature. So yeah, kind of like that SCP
Yeah, pretty much.
Foundation. I believe that is a perfect way to describe him. Anyone can look at him and come up with their own motives for him and his own powers. This results in the huge amount of different stories we have
Nice.
about Slender Man. And when you really break the character down, it's just a man with no face. And people are free to give him one.
Well, and tentacles. Tentacles is
true.
established.
The tentacles never come into the
Can I
to
just
it though.
do
He
I
just
have
like walks
to
around
unlock
in
the
them.
banners myself?
No, that's not true. He does use his tentacles in some of the iterations.
Like when? Did he even have tentacles in Slenderman the 8 pages? I don't think so.
He did. Well, like when you see him, he didn't do anything though. Like that game fucking
Yeah.
super sucks. So what happens is when you see him, it just gets like all staticky and then goes
Yeah,
into
If I
like a
go
loud noise.
here,
So you never, but he does have them
It'll
there. I'm pretty sure.
automatically
He just doesn't use them.
I don't remember
automatically get all the
But
banners.
wasn't there another Slenderman from the Slenderman
Let's
the 8
try.
page dev? Didn't he release like a sequel to that game? Like
All right,
5
it's gonna
years
be a
later?
long ride.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Because looking at Slender the 8 pages, the one that came out, it doesn't look like he has tentacles most of the time.
Yeah, Slender
gonna
the
auto
Arrival.
ride.
So there was I don't know if it's by the same dev, but they made a Slender the Arrival game, which
Yeah, I
was
think that's what I'm thinking of.
wow. It's got it's got 88% positive rating on Steam. Did you ever play it?
Slender Arrival? Yeah.
Was it good?
I don't remember. Probably not.
People liked it for the
88.
time. It was a lot more complex than 8 pages.
Well, yeah, you couldn't get much less complex. Than
Well,
the
I
8
mean, like you
pages.
went to different locations, and there was a story, and there was objectives and stuff like that. It was a lot higher regarded.
Yeah, 88% on Steam. All the recent reviews are 100%, so it's doing well. Interesting. I forgot about that like sequel. So
That's kind of the whole story of Slender Man.
It's
Yeah.
interesting how we went from like a few posts of just, oh, there's this creepy figure, and it's kind of like an open and shut story in that, but then it became so much more. It became video games, it became movies, it became ARGs, it even became a news report with a stabbing. Like it's really wild how much this little corner of the internet exploded. But I'm thankful that it did, because there's probably a direct path that could be traced from me reading about Slender Man when I was like 11 to me here now. So
yeah, I mean, it's definitely meant a lot to a lot of
What the
people.
fuck?
Some good, some bad. But it, like you said, it's
Okay, I
absolutely
guess I'm not going up
crazy
there.
that a small post on an internet forum spread this far, like, and this wide, and had this kind of impact just from some photoshopped images. Very impressive kind of example of how the internet can be used to spread these kind of tall tales and have that kind of impact. I love the Slender Man. I think it's one of the most entertaining aspects of the internet.
All right. Oh. Didn't mean to do all that. Lost my cue. That's fine.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Kinda Funny Xcast, your home for all things Xbox.
The fuck,
here
guys?
at Kinda Funny. Of course, I'm one of your show hosts, Snowbike Mike, and today you'll notice I've gone from the studio setup to a virtual setup because I'm hanging out with not my two gaming dads, but my two gaming best buds, the two coolest dudes on planet Earth that I love listening to each and every week. It's the Xbox 2 dudes. It's Randall Thor, the man with a million, and of course, Jez Corden, managing editor of Windows Central Gaming. He's got such an awesome title, Rand, and I love saying it every time. Jez, I'll start with you. Thanks for staying up late for me and hanging out. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, man. Thanks for having us. You know, rocking and rolling. It's been a busy couple of weeks. That Dragon's Dogma 2 beat.
That was good.
Yes,
coming out the
the
other
site
side
is
of it now.
popping off. Yeah, the
Yes,
site,
yeah.
all of your team has done a phenomenal job. I mean, big shout out to Windows Central Gaming. If you haven't gone over there, you know I'm getting all my Xbox news 90% of the time from Jez and the team, but they do a phenomenal job of covering the news. A lot of cool guides up there. I know you put up the beginners, like, hey, here's the 18 things you need to know about Jez, and that helped me. So shout out to you and the team, man, always.
Thanks very much.
Of course, and you know, it wouldn't be the Xbox 2 podcast takeover without the man with a million, Randall Thor 19. Rand, how are you?
Mike, it is so good to see you, bro.
Wow, thank you, man.
I mean, seeing your
I'm
journey.
fucking
at
up right
PAX,
now.
Haven't you watched, like, bro, I love you. You're the best, man.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for inviting not only me, but Jez here. And you know what? You are right. Saying managing editor of Windows Central, it is awesome. That's why I get to say it every single week, you know? It's great.
You're one
Who the
lucky
fuck
dude.
is
Of
this
course,
guy?
The two of you have an incredible community that you guys have created with the Xbox 2 podcast and beyond. I mean, Jez doing awesome stuff on the site. You making great Xbox informative videos always, Rand, have been some of my favorites. No matter if you take a break, no matter if you're making them weekly, daily, you've always been incredible. So thank you both for being here. And of course, shout out to the PAX journey. I am back from PAX East Boston, and I want to give a big shout out to all the Kinda Funny best friend community that came by and saw, of course, the panel for Kinda Funny Games Showdown. That's up now on YouTube. Or if you came out to the Grounded panel where me and the team over at Obsidian got to celebrate all things Grounded and look forward to Grounded 1.4, getting you fully
You're getting the
yoked
gun,
for
pussy.
the big game. Of course,
Fucking
Jez, we're going
taking
to
up
talk about
all
it.
my
I mean,
medicine.
it's here. It's coming to other platforms. It's got a big update and the final update. So I'll tease that out for everybody. We'll talk about that. And of course, shout out to Blessing, who did a fantastic job with CD Projekt Red, talking all things Cyberpunk. That was really something special to see him up on the main stage. And I got to give a big shout out to the Iron Lords. You know, we give thanks on Sundays to those guys
How the fuck
over
you
there,
missed
but
that?
they were all there. The Iron Lords podcast came out. They were doing interviews. They were doing the Xbox Frontline News channel. I got to do an interview with King David and Lord Sov, so go please check that out. It was a lot of fun to talk about my journey and the world of Xbox. But guys, enough about me. I want to talk about both of you. Jez, you're up late. How have you been? What have you been up to? What games have you been playing?
Oh god, another one joined the fight.
Yeah, man. I mean,
I could've sworn I parried
mentioned,
that.
Like, Dragon's Dogma 2 is like, we were all over that game because, you know, we're a small team, so trying to compete
Alright,
with two
hold on.
players out
Reset.
there, you know, put the whole team on the game.
The fuck are
Capcom's
you
very
doing here,
supportive
bro?
of us, you know, doing the spread of guides for, because it's can be quite a complicated game with a lot of sort of opaqueness. You know, for those who don't know, it's an action RPG, open world. It's a sequel 12 years in the making, something like that, over 10 years, and you know, it's different. It's a different kind of game. It doesn't really feed you the sort of the quest objectives and the sort of like you know, what we sort of become accustomed to with Western games a lot of the time. You know, and because of that, I thought, well, this would be a good opportunity to write some guides, you know. So I've been murdering this game. I think I put 150 hours into it now.
Got him.
Saves. I haven't had much time for anything else really.
That's
just
amazing,
yeah. Dragon's Dogma for 2 weeks.
Where the fuck did all those guys come
I
from?
did the review, I started the game over again because I missed a lot out.
Help me out, bro.
I missed like an entire town.
Got a lot of guys here.
Going through the review period. It was like side quests, you know. I missed side quests out. But yeah, so it's a really cool game, you know. It's got some controversy swirling around it, you know, with the whole the microtransactions things and other stuff. But I've really enjoyed it. I really like it. It's my kind of game, so pretty happy.
Yeah, I've put 10 hours into it now. You know, me and Andy and the crew, we made Nick and Kevin from the team, and I've been adventuring all around it. I'm so with you. It doesn't feel like it holds my hand when sometimes I probably need it to be out just a little bit, but I do love that it is like, hey, here's a grand adventure. Go forth and get lost. And I think it is wild. Every time I've been streaming it, I say, man, this game is so big. Isn't it crazy that, like, I don't have a mount? You're telling me there's no horse, there's no riding on the back of a griffin, and it's like, no, you're gonna walk, or of course you'll take the ox ride, but it is you and your crew adventuring. And I think some of the things that have really stood out to me, Jez, is it is nonstop combat and action, right? It feels like I go from one fight, I take a breath, I'm in another fight, and then another one, and then another one, and sometimes that's good and bad for me. I love the combat. I like early on, Jez, that it's hey, you're leveling up quickly because of that. It feels rewarding after every single fight, and it kind of really gets me to like, hey, stick around, do those fights, don't run away, because you're going to get rewarded with the
These stealth kills are really strong. I gotta try to get that.
The world is beautiful, Jez. There's moments where it's like, I want to take a moment and just look at this vista and enjoy. And next thing I know, there's a goblin chasing me, or there's a giant werewolf man. And I'm like, everybody just chill out for like 20 seconds, please, so I can enjoy this view.
Yeah, it is combat heavy. I kind of almost feel like it's almost like playing like Diablo or something, but from a third person perspective. You know, like in Diablo, you're going from like group of goblins to group of goblins to group of goblins, like constantly. And the story isn't the emphasis, kind of like Diablo as well, to some degree. So I've just been really enjoying it on that basis. I changed vocation a lot to mix it up. I've maxed out Sorcerer, Mystic Spearhand, now I'm doing Mystic Archer as well.
Where's the ninja that I rescued?
I can't decide which one I like the most. The hardcore Dragon's Dogma community are upset about various things in the game.
Is he
like
dead already?
Missing vocations from the original. You know, the lack of like a true repeatable end game that Dark Arisen, the expansion for the original game, brought this sort of like repeatable end game sort of gameplay loop, and people were hoping that this would have something similar, but it kind of doesn't this time round. But I feel like there's a lot that the game could improve upon. Like, there are flaws, of course there are, but I feel like there's a lot they could do to expand this down the line with expansions and DLC. And if like we're looking at games like Monster Hunter World as an example of a game that had absolutely incredible post-launch support, I'm pretty bullish on Dragon's Dogma's future. You know, I was a fan of the original, even though I only played it fairly recently after seeing the trailers for this. Even though like I played it recently, it's quite an old game.
Tough.
Still, I came to really love the combat, because even like Dragon's Dogma, the original, the combat felt so far ahead of its time, and it did things that you know, you can feel like, oh, this definitely influenced The Witcher 3 and you know, other things like that.
I fucked up.
It's a special game, special franchise, and I'm excited to see where they take it. I think it's got a lot of potential to grow even more.
Yeah, it's got some juice, Jez. I am very excited for the future of this. I'm excited to play through this. Right after my 10 hours, I can't stop thinking about this. I got home last night after a soccer game, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna just keep playing. And I turned it on for an hour and kind of got lost running from town to town. And I think that's the fun part for me, is that something that we missed out on Starfield that we talked about with those Bethesda RPGs is like, here's a giant map, and you're going to venture across, and you're going to make your own tales in that. And we kind of lost that in Starfield of going from planet to planet, and it didn't quite feel like that normal experience. And that's what this one's giving me. Is like, oh, you're going to go over there, and you're going to walk, and sometimes it's frustrating to walk a long ways, but you're going to make your own little mini stories. I ran into a giant stone golem out of nowhere, and it was wild to climb up on the back of it. And I'm changing vocations all the time. I really love that, Jez. As someone who gets decision paralysis in these RPG games where I don't want to spend that skill point there, or, oh, I don't know if this is going to be the meta build, and now I'm holding on to 5 skill points when I should be spending them.
I really do like free all the banners.
Don't just change the vocations when you want, and you spend those points and you get some new skills. I like that a lot, Jess. I think that's a big win for that.
In the original, like, when you leveled up with a certain vocation, the stats would be based on what vocation you had. So, like, switching back to, if you were playing as a mage, you get mage stats. And then if you switch back, it was like, well, now you've got mage stats while playing as a warrior, and it didn't work that well. But in this one, the stats change based on what you do, so it's a lot more forgiving in that context. But like, your Starfield comparison is interesting because Starfield has a lot of what I feel like is copy and paste, and that becomes more apparent the more and more you play it. Like if you are trying to play it repeatedly, but Dragon's Dogma has none of that. Like all the caves are handcrafted. All the locations are handcrafted. Like here's a great example. Like like I said, I put about 150 hours into the game so far across 2 different playthroughs, and I didn't know you could ride on a griffin's back. You know, the griffins fly around, and if you're on the griffin's back because of the grab button, which lets you grab onto basically anything, the griffin could just be like, well, I'm gonna fly away now. And if you're on his back, then you're screwed. And I was flying on this dude's back for ages. It was the second time I'd done it, and I was just I'm going to see how long I can stay here. And this griffin flew me all the way to the griffin's nest, and inside the nest was a ton of loot and a port crystal, which are the fast travel points, which are super rare in the game. I had no idea this even existed. It was high up in the mountains in the middle of nowhere, and it was just like, there's just these kind of like explorative moments are just so rewarding in this game because none of it's copy pasted. It's all hand curated, and it's one of the best open worlds I've ever experienced. It's so far ahead of a lot of them. Yeah.
Dear Goblin, stop hacking me in the back so I can enjoy the incredible handcrafted world. But
I suppose the goblins are copied and pasted quite a lot. There's a lot of goblins in the game.
That's
one of the downsides was I think the enemy variety is probably one of the flaws. I'd love a bit more enemy variety, but maybe that can improve.
Good start.
That's a good call out, and I want to get your co-host involved in just a moment. Of course, Rand, I believe is your pawn in your game, and I think they have a really cool system of this kind of like, I'll call it the pawn party, right? Where I get to create, of course, my pawn, which Andy created Kevin for me, and we're on this grand adventure. But I do love the use of the pawns and how you kind of cycle through them. I think we get so easily bogged down or kind of in the normal of, hey, this is my crew, right? And we're going to venture all the way through this experience together for 100 hours, right? It's normally I pick up a companion here, they're part of my team, we ride together for a long time. I do love that, like, the pawns will become under-leveled, and it's time to say goodbye to them. And I find a new pawn, and I grab them, and I go,
bro,
oh, you're at my level or beyond. You got to come join my party.
You're not the main character. Give it up.
Fresh. It feels unique. Of like every time I see a pawn on the streets, I go, ooh, should I talk to them? Should I be inviting them? Whether I go to the stone and I go, what do I need in my party, or should I mix and match? I really do find the pawn system really cool and interesting of seeing other people's pawns being created, and I can bring them in if they're on my friends list. Or just in general, like, oh, I've been with Susie Q for like 4 hours now. Let me ditch her. Let me go grab Alex over here and get a new pawn in. I think that's really fun and exciting, and I dig that, Jess. I think it's cool.
Right.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I made the Rand pawn. If you follow me on Xbox at Jez, you can use the Rand pawn. Looks just like him.
Yeah.
And runs a nice healer with a cool hat.
Oh,
That's good fashion. He'll come and heal your party. Yeah, it's really good.
I was over here. Why the fuck did it
and,
spawn me all the way over?
Of course, I should get
This
Rand
is where I
involved
went?
because it's
The
not the
Vendetta?
Xbox One, it's the Xbox 2.
Guess I went to 2 first.
podcast.
Okay.
And Randall Thor, the man with the million. I know you're always playing games. Rand,
where they
what
at?
have you been playing lately? I need to know what's hot and what's not.
Well, you know, it sort of sometimes is the Xbox One, Mike, because as you well know, I'm just Randall Nobody. It's
That
Jazz's
pussy that has my
podcast,
karma.
right?
They
How many
love
times
Jazz.
have we seen
They
that?
love
It's
Jazz.
Yeah. But no, so you know, I'm not playing
Get over
Dragon's
here.
Dogma 2 because it wasn't something that appealed to me. But listening to you guys talk about it definitely makes it more interesting. And I have a couple buddies playing it now that are in love with the game, which makes me, you know, feel that little bit of FOMO. I ain't gonna lie. You know, it's like, should I be playing this? Maybe I'll get to it at some point. I didn't play the first game, so I wasn't really like, it wasn't on my radar, the sequel. But I did just come off a 50-hour playthrough of Banisher's Ghost of New Eden from Dontnod. I think they released it back in
Get down here, bro. He's fucking immune to the grappling
hook.
hook.
The last couple weeks.
All right, Mr.
I
fucking
gotta say,
boss.
Mike, I really enjoyed it. It really exceed. I didn't really have any expectations for it.
Bro, just
but
get down here.
It definitely is an underrated release of this year, for sure. Like when you talk about like great games of this year, everybody's gonna point to like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or Dragon's Dogma 2 or
Pow World,
or like Infinite Wealth.
I love it.
Right, like they're good, but I feel like this one is kind of nobody's really talking about this. It's from Dontnod. Their last game was Jasant, which I really enjoyed. But this is a different. This is like an action RPG. I kind of when I talk about when people ask what it is, it very much resembled like a God of War 2018 style game.
Still got a couple
there's
of
two main
fucking
characters, and the
fugitives here.
setup of the game is basically
I'll get them first.
You're going to the New World. It's 1690. How often you get games set in the 1600s? Not often, right? And you, as a couple, are banishers, which you basically get rid of ghosts. You get rid of people that are haunted by ghosts. And you're going to this town because your friend says there's a curse in this, you know, this village, and you're going there to kind of get rid of it. And I'm not going to spoil what happens, but essentially the game ends up becoming like an action RPG where a lot of people are being haunted by ghosts, and a lot of it has to do with like investigations, figuring out like why the ghost is haunting them, what's keeping them around, and usually that ends up with some moral quandary because you can either blame the living person or you can banish the ghost or send the ghost. And it's usually some really black and white moral quandary that really makes you think, being like, oh man, should I be doing this?
Oh, come on.
All in a
Bro
sense
gives
in your
you
adventure
no
to get
break.
back to that town to kind of rid the curse. But I don't want to spoil it for anybody who's playing it because I did find the narrative to be very compelling. I did find the relationship between the two main
where is
characters
he?
because you switch between them in combat.
Damn, she got a fat
quite
ass.
often, and it's really the focus of the narrative is on their relationship because something happens between them. And by the end, I gotta say, like they got me towards the like I was really invested in this game a lot, and anybody who's looking for wants like an action RPG with a really great story. The combat it's not great, but it's good, right?
Oh, that was quick.
But yeah, I definitely recommend. I think it's a really cool game that's kind of being overlooked.
Another fucking gun guy on the
I saw Andy
roof.
Cortez here at the Kind of Funny team playing it, and I want to know, Rand, from your experience, the decision making of banishing these ghosts.
How the
right
fuck?
At the end of the
Making
day,
me suck his dick.
does it have a large impact on the game? Is it very much, hey, you are going to follow the line of you're
Bro,
going
just
to
come
banish
down
Mike
here.
no matter what, and you're going to leave Jez,
This-
or is it very much like you
This is so
decide
fucking
and you're
lame.
going to leave your imprint on this?
Having a
So,
fucking roof
the
fight,
whole
how
point of,
epic.
like,
With your janky
banishing
ass
the
fucking
ghost
roof
or
combat.
blaming the living has
Get
to
the
do
fuck off.
with what happened with your loved one, and it all affects the ending of the game, right? Like I said, I don't want to spoil it, but your choices have the consequence of how the ending takes up and how it shapes and how it actually plays out. So if you could blame people all you want, that will lead to something else. But usually blaming the living, Mike, that's like the evil thing, because you're essentially killing them, right? But there's a reason why in the story you would want to do it. And then the other side, there's banishing the ghost or sending the ghost, and that's usually the good thing. But sometimes they present this thing where the person living is completely innocent, but because of what you have to do if you're going down this path, you have to kill them, and it kind of makes you feel a certain way. And other times, like the ghost may, like, there's some crazy moral stuff that goes on between like the choices, but it all shapes the ending that you get. So it does
selling
this. Oh, nice.
I like the sound of
13
this,
enemies. They're starting me out with somebody.
Narrative games.
That's not a good sign.
How long, right? We talk about Hellblade 2 coming up in the length of that. You brought up God of War and the kind of vibe that it is. On this game, how long is it? How long should I expect to be here? And any replayability, or is it a one and done type vibe, you think?
Well, so as for the length, I put 50 hours in, but I did everything. Everything on the map.
Wow,
I did all the haunting cases, because you don't have to do them all. But I mean, that's kind of like the meat and potatoes of the game. If you were just to do like the main story and nothing else, it'd probably be a 20 to 25 hour experience. But if you did everything like I did, it's like 50 hours. So you can get your money. No, I thought about that, but then I just watched the other. I just watched on YouTube the other ending. I didn't.
Great,
get, right, because I wanted
janky
to see
wall combat.
I wanted to see what would happen if I made other choices. I'm not necessarily the best person to ask about replayability, Mike, because I play a game, I finish a game, and then I'm on to the next game. I really don't replay games. So
and usually
Jez
you
is like
save scum to get the second.
No. You see, Jez is all about, I'm on my second playthrough of Dragon's Dogma. Me, I'd be like, I would beat Dragon's Dogma, and then like there's another game waiting, and then beat that and move on to the next one. So I don't normally replay games, but I did look up the other ending that I didn't get because I was really curious to see like the other side of it,
Okay, I like that. You sold that better than the trailers and everything I've seen of it. I think it looked good. The combat looked like God of War, right? That third person over the shoulder.
I fucking hate this area. Trying to fucking find these guys.
Side until you spoke about it like that. So good job.
It's like when you get to this roof.
I have a bad one for
There's no way to get to the other side except
I've been playing
from
South
over
Park
here.
Snow Day.
Ooh.
And Jez and Rand, unfortunately, this game is bad. It is really unfortunate. And you know what it is? They have something good here. And that's the sad part of it, is the production value, how they present the game from the 3D animation, the full-on world of South Park come to life, being able to create your own little, elementary school kid in the South Park universe. Like, it all works so well, and it feels like it is a TV episode. It does have some humor, even though there's a lot of repeated one-liners, and it's not like not pushing the craziest boundary, but like the production and the presentation there is so good. It's the gameplay. It is just so repetitive. The vision of whatever they wanted to do, where they're calling it an action adventure game, but it's very much like, hey, what if we took the roguelite idea where you do these over and over again on these smaller missions, and you try to enhance that with cards and like you redo it all, just misses the mark. It is frustrating. It's not fun and engaging on a gameplay level when you're just hacking and slashing nonstop and doing the same amount of minimal damage to these guys. They have fun bosses, they have cool, beautiful worlds, but it's just a big miss, you guys. And I am sad and frustrated with that, because you have the license of South Park, and what they did in this 3D world reminds me of the N64 South Park game, where a lot of us for the first time got to run around South Park and experience it. And I question, man, I wish they just kind of went a little bit bigger and made it like a hack and slash collectathon 3D platformer like we all know and love, because I think they would have nailed it if it was that. But making it these smaller linear missions from point A to point B and hacking up a bunch of like no-name elementary school kids really misses the mark, guys. And it was frustratingly bad. It was too bad.
Which is, sucks because the last 2 South Park games were actually really, really good.
Fantastic, right?
Yeah, they were great, and I know people were looking forward to this one based on the pedigree of the last couple. But yeah, I saw that the game was not receiving rave reviews. So,
yeah, I am right there in line with all the reviews. There is some fun to be seen, but not to be had, I think is the best way of putting it. When you play it, you will not have fun, but seeing it, you will go, oh, that's really cool what they did with the South Park treatment. So I'm pretty down on that one as a multiplayer guy. I wish I could give that a little bit more love, but I just can't look at any of you and say that was a good game. That's just a bad one. So that's how we're kicking off the XCast with an Xbox 2 takeover. We have a whole lot of fun coming your way because, of course, this is the Kind of Funny XCast. We post each and every Thursday at 6 a.m. West Coast, Best Coast time on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames and, of course, on podcast services around the globe. Don't forget, if you love what we do here at Kind of Funny, think about helping us with the Kind of Funny membership over on Patreon and on YouTube. You can get all of our shows ad-free. You can watch them live as we record them, like a number of best friends are doing right now, like Lemon Bendy, DG Mayer, Jeremy, and Abe Froman. Thank you all for your support. And of course, you will get your daily exclusive show from one Greg Miller. So thank you all for your support. And if you enjoy what we do, go check out the Kind of Funny membership. Thank you to our Patreon producers for the month, Carl Jacobs, Kieran, Hovo Sapien, and Delaney Twining. Thank you so much for supporting us on Patreon. And this week, the Kind of Funny XCast is brought to you by Shady Rays, but me and the team will tell you all about that in just a...
This episode is brought to you by Shady Rays, an independent sunglasses brand that has over 300,000 5-star reviews. They are on a mission to match affordability with durability, making top quality shades accessible to everyone. They have tons of styles and colors to pick from, so finding the perfect blend.
We've had some negatives, but it seems that Phil Spencer has done an interview over at GDC, and we got some cool stuff to talk about from him. Even Jed.
Finding the perfect blend.
We've had.
Everybody who's looking forward, wants like an action RPG with a really great story.
Over on the Xbox 2 podcast, and of course over on Windows Central Gaming, has some fun stuff to talk about that we get to share. And
oh shit, my bad, guys.
Marvel game that I think's
fucking ran right into them.
Jez Corden, and I want to start off with that one because I know you're the Overwatch guy. I always listen
guy.
to the Xbox 2 podcast, and maybe Jez is playing some games in the background and enjoying himself because he
always
deserves some time to play.
Overwatch during the podcast.
No, I'm not. And I'll tell you why I'm not, right? It's because I'm on webcam right now, and my TV is really mounted high up. So, like, if I was playing, I'd be looking like this the whole time.
You know, people want the Xbox 2 to be on camera, and I told Jez that if we do, no more playing Overwatch during the podcast, and he was like, oh, I don't know.
Well, you know, like, maybe I can just like play on my PC.
Yeah, there you go. You know. You keep it right in front of you. He'll never know. Is right. We'll never know because we enjoyed the two of you in the podcast. But guys, let's talk about Marvel Rivals. A brand new Marvel game is coming our way, developed by NetEase Games. The read-up goes like this. Marvel Rivals is a superhero team-based PvP shooter. Assemble an all-star Marvel squad, devise countless strategies by combining powers from unique team-up skills and fight indestructible, ever-changing battlefields across the continually evolving Marvel universe. Some more details for you. It's going to be a free-to-play game headed to PC with a closed alpha test in May that people can sign up for right now. It does have an initial roster comprised of Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Groot, Hulk, Iron Man, Loki, Luna Snow, Magneto, Mantis, Namor, Penny Parker, Rocket Raccoon, Scarlet Witch, Spider-Man, Storm, Star-Lord, and the Punisher. That's a lot of jabronis in that game. And of course, it came out with the trailer today. It was officially announced and revealed to the world. Here's some of my initial first thoughts, and I want to kick it to Jez first because he is my Overwatch guy, but it definitely looks like Overwatch meets Marvel. It has destructible environments, like it says. It looked to have a capture the point situation.
Damn, bro,
and
chill.
also maybe a payload type game mode that I think we saw in the trailer that I could see. But you're my Overwatch guy, Jez. What do you think about this idea?
Well, I gotta tell you, I don't care about Marvel. You know,
Okay.
If anyone listens to Xbox 2, they'll know I'm not a superhero guy, and least of all Marvel. So that in of itself puts me off. But what I will hope for this game is that it brings some competition for Overwatch, and sort of, you know, because Overwatch has had a tough dev cycle, a tough live service over the last few years. I think anyone
What are you doing with that big ass sword?
Probably knows about that. PvE mode was cancelled completely now, per rumors. And then obviously the story mode, which was supposedly the whole point of Overwatch 2, has also been, you know, shelved. So since then, I think Overwatch has been trying to find its identity and where do they really go from here, and what do they do next and stuff. And also there's been controversy about the battle pass and how you get new heroes. And one of the things they did in Overwatch recently was announce that all new heroes will be free and they won't be part of the battle pass anymore, which is great news. You know, it's a big step in the right direction. But you know, as for like for this game in particular, you know, I just say, like, I'm personally not interested just because of the Marvel angle. And the reason I play Overwatch is because it's Overwatch. You know, it's sort of like it's almost nostalgic now. I've been playing it for that long. You know, when did it come out? 2016.
Yeah, 2015. I thought 2016 sounds about right. Okay, so we're almost 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
That's crazy. It doesn't feel like it's been 10 years almost. But yeah, it's kind of one of them, you know, where you just pick a game and it's like it's your game, you know, like people who play Call of Duty every year, or people who play Fortnite every year, constantly, forever, or, you know, in Rand's case, how many hours you got in PUBG, Rand? Like
900, like 800, 900.
Like, yeah, it's just that. It's like Overwatch is just my game. So this game could be the best hero shooter in the world, and I'd probably still not play it. So I mean, but yeah, for people who like hero shooters and like Marvel, this sounds like it could be their dream game. You know, NetEase, of course, they make Nakara Bladepoint as well.
Fuck, man.
Oh yes, Naraka Bladepoint.
If I probably pronounced that wrong. But that again is very popular and it has a good live service attached to it. So NetEase, you know, they make live
fucking
service
Voldo,
games.
of
That's
course.
What they do. They also make Diablo more. So there's that Blizzard crossover there a little bit.
Call out.
So you know, hopefully it ends up being a good game, and you know, if it is a good game, hopefully it will bring some more competition to Overwatch and, you know, inspire some good ideas, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's probably not for me. I don't know if Rand feels any differently. Rand, you into this Marvel?
I thought it looked kind of cool, to be honest with you. Like, I am into like the Marvel DC stuff, although I'm not into Overwatch.
Bro, that combo's crazy.
That has, you know, we all put 800 hours into PUBG, you know, a whole bunch into Warzone. We all were on the lookout for the next great multiplayer game that we all want to play together. And I was watching the trailer, and I thought to myself, man,
I can really never get his combos. There's like certain enemies I'm just never gonna get their moveset right.
Team up, 6v6, Overwatch style game. It's like, it's sort of almost to the point where I was thinking, man, how's it taken this long for them to make something like this? Now, I don't know if it'll be successful, because that sort of market is a little bit saturated. It's tough for a lot of newer games to break in, and, you know, especially when you have the Fortnite juggernaut or the Call of Duty stuff. You know, we've seen the single player stuff, like the Spider-Man games, right?
I can't just rush in. There's too many annoying enemies on the
games
roof.
In development, and all
and
like
just
single
standing
player
around.
focused. And I was wondering when we would get like a true
I could just take him out with a couple
multiplayer
assassinations.
game. I don't know when this is released. They did say it's coming, next month? I believe in like alpha on PC only. They haven't announced if it's coming to console yet. I'm assuming it will whenever it eventually does release. But yeah, it seems like, I don't know, I was watching it and I was sort of expecting to not like it, but I was like, oh no, I mean, they retained an individuality of each of the characters. Like, that's Spider-Man, and Spider-Man jumps and acts like he's supposed to, and oh, that's Doctor Strange, and that's really unique, or here's the Hulk, and here's Iron. So it's like, okay, it has the characteristics of the IP, but I think the success of the game will be based on whether or not it's actually a good multiplayer game, because we've seen just having a big IP behind you like Marvel Avengers or Guardians of the Galaxy isn't enough these days. So its success will be based off of like, hey, how great is this? How many people play it? But no, I mean, I think it could be. Just judging it from off the trailer and nothing else, like, this seems cool, right?
Yeah, it's so interesting because it looks cool, but it also looks just like Overwatch. I think that was my initial thoughts of like, this is Overwatch. And I know, Jez, I'm gonna have you school me, because there's a couple moments here where I'm like, are we sure we're not just ripping off Overwatch characters? Because there's one lady who's roller skating around looking just like that guy. There's Spider-Man who comes out of that portal and he does the multi-web that looks just like the guy with the dual pistols, Jez, and he does that move, right? So there's like moments where I'm like, oh, I don't know, but I think there's something to be said. Two things. One that Jez said, right? Like, I, as the multiplayer guy here at Kind of Funny, who plays a lot of these shooters, I know for a fact that audiences get comfortable with what they like, right? Jez likes Overwatch. I love Call of Duty Battle Royale. We talked about Ram with so many hours in PUBG. The kids playing Fortnite and Roblox. It is very difficult to have an attachment rate onto these newer shooters that are just kind of middle of the road to even good, right? We've seen so many games come and go as a live service, from Knockout City to Rumbleverse, where it's like, oh, you had a fun idea and it was good, but like, not strong enough to pull enough people out of their comfort zone and get them to sit on this game, right? And for me, like you bring up, Rand, I think the positive here that I can give to this game is it has the Marvel license, right? Like, that's gonna get you a little bit farther than coming out with a new IP. We saw it with Pokemon Unite, right? Pokemon Unite is a great game. I will give it that. It's a good MOBA game. But I think that got a lot more juice thanks to that Pokemon treatment that it had than just being Mike's MOBA and I just made up characters, right? And so for me, if you can nail the gameplay like you see
pull out and shoot my pistol without
fun,
having to switch to it, because I can't do a finisher with a bow. But I guess I could take it out during combat.
With the
who the fuck is using a bow during combat?
Right? But as Jez says, Overwatch is in a weird place. Maybe this is the shot in the arm they either need, or the moment to get people like Jez away from Overwatch.
I think I used it like one
something
time.
That is so similar that they probably feel at home with, is what I wonder and worry about here.
I was just looking up if Pokemon Unite was NetEase as well, because I know it wasn't developed by Nintendo, but it was developed by Tencent. So
okay,
almost another Chinese mobile giant. But yeah, I tend to agree. You know, maybe there have been other sort of Overwatchy kind of games. You know, Paladins comes to mind, and they have their audiences, but you know, people just kind of stick to what they're used to these days. But maybe you're right. Marvel can put through that sort of apathy in a way like maybe Naraka Bladepoint couldn't with original characters or whatever. You know, even Rand's interested, which
I'm interested. Yeah, because
I was not expecting that at all.
Well, I'm interested because of the IP, and I think that's what Mike spoke about. It's the IP is going to get people into the door, right? Hey, I'm a huge Iron Man fan, or I'm a big Marvel dude. It's going to get people in the door. Now, whether or not they stay, that's going to be up to the game, right? Yeah. We've seen games come out strong and then have a lackluster, live service support. You know, Halo Infinite comes to mind when it launched in 2021, where people loved it, and then they're like, okay, where's the extra content? And it wasn't available. I mean, even some of the stuff with Diablo 4, some of the early seasons, you know, Jez can attest to, weren't necessarily the greatest or whatever. So, like, the IP is going to get people to check it out, but is that going to be enough, right? Is that going to be enough to be like, all right, no, this is my new #1 game? Or is it just going to be a fad for a couple weeks and people get their kicks out of it? They level up their characters and like, all right, I'm done. Guess what? I'm gonna go back to Fortnite. I'm gonna go back to Overwatch. And I do wonder, like, how do people at Blizzard looking at this when they see this trailer and they're like, they just really just copy pasted our game, like, you know, like, because it really is, very much reminiscent of Overwatch. And I sort of wonder if they look at that and they're like, come on now, right? Or if it's like too samey to Overwatch, if people just being like, if they start playing, like, I don't know, like, it's done better over here, right? It's definitely going to be a case of, like, can this IP overcome all these other great games in the market that, what do they call them, black hole games? Because all this time is sunk into all these games, and it's like, is the Marvel IP going to be enough for it to stand out in people's minds and have it become a success where we're talking about this 5 years from now, right? You mentioned a bunch of games like Knockout City, Rumbleverse, which was great, and a whole bunch of others that all came in and all had these great ideas, but there just wasn't the player base for it, and they unfortunately had to end. So I'm curious, is this going to be one of those where in a year from now we're be like, oh man, you tried, kudos, but you know, it wasn't in the cards? Or is it going to be a staple? Are you going to see it in the top 10 PlayStation, Xbox player charts, or is it just going to be in a flash in the pan? You know, like, what is the Marvel IP worth in a multiplayer arena? Because we've never really had that before. It'd be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Yeah, I mean, they're coming out with a strong roster, right? We went down, that is a number of names to have. You got to think, like Jazz can attest to, and you and I have, like, there's going to be microtransactions tied to this free-to-play game of different outfits, and there's a number of characters, if you're a Marvel fan, to go, man, I would love to play as one of these characters, and I would love to see what's the cool outfit for the Punisher. What do they do with Storm? How do they make them look cool to justify me giving them $20? But it's all going to come down to, like you said, gameplay, right? Like, the game's got to be fun. It's got to be enjoyable. And if I can just go get that over at Overwatch, what am I jumping ship for? And so let's keep an eye on this one. I'm interested. I'm excited because I love Marvel. I like a lot of those characters, and I do love a good, you know, hero-based arena shooter. But if it's not good enough, we'll probably move on. Guys, we got some fun Xbox news to talk about.
I was gonna say,
Did you guys let me out the fucking door?
I don't know what's next on your topic list, but I wonder if this would be a game people would enjoy playing on the go.
What is this?
Oh,
you know?
Wow.
Thanks for teeing me up, Rand. You're the absolute best.
Is that a good segue?
Like,
I don't know.
Locked
up
in there like a prison.
You know. That is what's next, because we have some fun Xbox news, because Phil Spencer has spoken with, of course, Polygon, thanks to, of course, a GDC interview. Everybody was down here in San Francisco for GDC, which saw numbers up, which was really, really cool, and some great developers came and got to share some fun. But it looks like Phil did have a nice little talk with the team over at Polygon, and he spoke about a number of things that I definitely want to pick your guys' brains about, like an open marketplace over on Xbox, which I found very interesting, an Xbox handheld, and so much more. So let's talk about playing on the go. Jez, I think you're going to be our guy. We're going to talk about here in just a second, come from the Xbox 2 podcast, but it is something we've all spoken about on all the Xbox communities, the podcast. We talk about this on-the-go form factor for Xbox. When will Xbox make its own handheld, especially as of late, where everybody, it seems...
Why did I pick up the item? Why did you blade flash? What the fuck?
It looks like Phil did
What the fuck did I even pick up? What was that?
We always talk about Phil Spencer and how much of a gamer he is, and clearly it's not like they're blind. They see what's going on. They read the tea leaves. But I found it interesting of, like, Phil is actively playing these handheld devices and going, ooh, what do I like? What do I not like? How do we make it Xbox and more, of course? And so the big quote I pulled out of this one is, what should we build that will find new players, that will allow people to play all, at times when they couldn't go play? And I think that's the big one for me, Jez. It's like, yeah, of course we know Xbox has probably looked into a handheld. We know that they're looking at other handhelds, but finding that new players has been the big discussion of console sales are getting kind of flat, and they need something new to get more people in. And it does seem like the Xbox handheld is the move. Jez, you're a handheld guy. What do you think about Xbox in the handheld market?
Look, got a handheld right here. The Lenovo Legion Go from Lenovo. It's a very, very good piece of kit. But Phil's right. There's a lot of pain points with these handhelds. You know, like if you got Steam Deck, you don't get PC Game Pass unless you install Windows on it, which is a nightmare. because the third-party software for the Steam Deck doesn't work that good and often breaks. So then you get like the true Windows handhelds, which have the drivers, like the Lenovo One or the Asus ROG Ally, for example. But then the problem is Windows, which is not designed for this form factor. It's terrible with touch, and the UI doesn't scale very well on smaller screens, and also the overheads on Windows are quite high, which means, you know, diminished battery life. You know, could there be a thin operating system, a lighter version of Windows which runs the games, which doesn't chew up the battery life with millions of background processes because it doesn't expect to be squashed down into a tablet? So there's a lot of barriers to this, you know, and obviously a big barrier for Xbox is that all the thousands and thousands of games that exist in the Xbox ecosystem, they only have licenses to be running on Xbox operating system hardware. So there's you know, if they did make a Windows-based handheld, there's a licensing hurdle to overcome there. And if they make an Xbox-based handheld, then there's a lot of technical hurdles to overcome there. So there's no perfect solution or no easy path forward for Microsoft to make this happen.
Why the fuck isn't the grappling hook working? What the fuck?
Because, like Phil
there we
said,
go. Bro, drag him to the side of the roof.
More and more people
what
are
the fuck is that?
And, you know, people our age.
What the fuck is wrong with this game?
Which means TV time is, you know, split between spouses or children who want to watch YouTube Kids and Skibbity Toilet on repeat, or whatever kids do these days. Or maybe kids want to play Roblox on the TV or whatever. So, you know, and a lot of kids have grown up with handhelds as their, you know, primary mode of gaming. And I'm not even talking about Nintendo Switch. I'm talking about stuff like the iPod, which, you know, again, kids growing up with touch as their, you know, modus of, you know, gaming input. They're used to this kind of form factor. So I think when Microsoft is thinking about new to Xbox, which is like, it's a stat they track, you know, they call it NTX internally, I think, which literally means new to Xbox. And it's a really important metric for them because obviously, you know, generationally, if your plan is to keep Xbox going for not just years but decades into the future, you have to be thinking about Gen Z and then Gen Alpha as well, and whatever they call the gen after that. You know, I like the fact they got to Gen Z and they've just gone all the way back to A.
Yes,
so
we restart.
So would the gen after that be Gen Beta or something?
Shit.
I don't know. I don't know the Greek letters, but or whatever that is.
I've done every single side quest,
like going back to,
and still I can get fucking like one combo killed.
My brain
I have like some of the strongest armor.
But yeah, I think they do have to
fucking
make
level 40, 45 armor.
Innovative things. Windows needs
the highest
to be
I have is level 52, which like isn't even that bad.
Steam Deck
what the fuck?
Is a disruptor. You know, Valve's building a console platform, and it is a console.
Oh, great arrow guy regenerated. Love
PC,
that.
But is it though?
Love him.
Nobody boots that thing into Linux. Nobody boots that thing into Linux. You can tinker with it, but you can also put an Xbox in dev mode and do similar things.
Of course, he's on. Oh, both the gun guys regenerated. You know, that's great.
So like, Valve's building a console platform that has both PlayStation and Xbox exclusives. They've kind of slipped in the back door and sort of taken both Sony and Microsoft by surprise.
Love this.
I do think Microsoft needs to be in this space, and you know, Nintendo. Kudos to Nintendo. They thoroughly cornered that market and made it their own.
Why the fuck is the marker behind? This marker is freaking out.
Kind of playing catch up now.
Doesn't know where the fuck it wants to go.
Switch 2 is going to be a really exciting device as well to watch in this space. I'm really excited about handhelds. Really bullish on it.
Rand, are you feeling the same way on handhelds?
I would like to say I am, but I'm not. Like, I have a lot of friends that are very much into the handheld life. But maybe it's because I don't have any kids. I'm not fighting for any time on whatever. I'm not like, I've never really been a mobile gamer. If I want to play something, I'll pop my butt in front of my, you know, my OLED television and play that way. I do understand why people want them though, right? I'm not saying Xbox shouldn't make them. I think they should, because I think there's a segment of the audience that definitely is clamoring for on-the-go gaming, especially with the resurgence that it seems like the Switch and the Steam Deck have brought to handheld devices. Now, I was a little bit worried with Microsoft being, you know, the cloud gaming, like, oh, you can play your games on the phone, but the phone's not really a great place to play, especially with touch controls, and they have, like, the back, you know, some of those, like, backbones and some of those things you can put onto your phone, but never really felt like the phone was a great place to play.
Is that a fucking cannon?
But now you're in this,
a chain gun, too.
Yeah, but now you a dedicated gaming device. People love the Switch.
Get the fuck over here, pussy.
People love the Steam. People love
Stop hiding behind your chain gun.
And it's an extension of the ecosystem. So, yeah, if they make one, a lot of Xbox fans will be happy to be able to take their library on the go, access Game Pass, and who knows what else. I mean, it's just, you know, I just sort of wonder, like, how big is the market for a Xbox handheld device? You know, Phil talked about new users. If you put out an Xbox handheld, is that going to appeal to people that normally wouldn't look at Xbox in any way, that's not interested in an Xbox console? Would they suddenly be interested in an Xbox handheld? And that's a question that, you know, they would have to ask themselves, and maybe we'll eventually find out, because I think Jez reported that, you know, on the Xbox 2 on this past week, they are prototyping. What was your report, Jez? So I don't say it wrong, because I know, like, Tom Henderson kind of.
Yeah, I didn't put it in an article because, you know, I kind of feel like that. Of course, they're always prototyping stuff, but and prototypes don't necessarily mean products, you know. But yeah, they do have a new wave of handheld prototypes. I've been told, for a very, very good source. Indeed, very good source. That they do have a new wave of handheld prototypes. They had handheld prototypes going all the way back to the Xbox One gen though. The Surface team put one together, and the Surface team is working very closely with Xbox.
Oh, he tried to dodge.
I saw some reports that Surface team had totally taken over Xbox hardware development. That's not true. Jason Ronin is still leading the charge there.
A lot of guys here.
But they do work in tandem, because obviously Surface has a lot of experience cramming hardware into form factors that, frankly, yeah, there you go. This laptop studio. I love that. I love that damn thing. It's a lovely drawing.
Thank you. It's me.
Who is that?
It's me. Shout out to Andrew. That's me.
You just been drawing yourself? Yeah, I really wanted a laptop studio, man. But I kind of feel like these devices need like an air-conditioned environment, because they
do kind of tough. A lot of help.
But yeah, they really know their stuff, and you know. But this is the thing with PC gaming. Like this is a PC, right? This is, you see it here, and I use this mostly for travel. Because I do a lot of traveling in my job. Like, I'm going to Poland soon for a studio visit, and obviously I'll take my Legion Go with me. But every time I turn it on, there's like a million updates I have to do, which, you know, on my lovely Xbox, which is constantly in standby mode, is constantly updating, it's constantly ready to go. So there's like, I mean, that's just like one simple pain point of this, but there's like all sorts of other tweaks I've had to do. Like, I've had to tweak the Wi-Fi driver to make sure it defaults to 5 gigahertz. I've had to, you know, install Play Night, which gives you a bigger interface for accessing your games with the controller. There's all sorts of things, and then like you have to like manually manage the wattage on the CPU. Like if you're playing like a 2D game, it's like I can tweak the TDP here to get more battery life out of it. You know, and you have to know and be familiar with PC gaming in general to get the most out of these devices. And I think. Like you don't have to do that to the same degree with Nintendo Switch. It works, you know. And I think that's what Microsoft really needs.
Edge of the Longhouse.
Xbox, not a Windows.
Do some more bonding missions.
Leave that to Asus. Leave that to Lenovo. Support them and make it better for them. And you know, those can be the high-end PC handheld devices. But what I really want to see, I want to see a handheld that runs my Xbox library, which means the Xbox operating system, and also is simple and easy to use, and it just works when I turn it on. I don't have to tweak drivers. I don't have to dig into control panel and try and fiddle around with its tiny little interface, which was the last time it was updated was 1998 or something like that. You know, I don't want to have to deal with any of that stuff. I will do it because I like the device, but I feel like most people won't want to do that. So we'll see where they go with it.
You know who really wants one of these, Mike?
Who wants one?
Paris.
Yeah, I know.
I was talking to him the other day about
dad,
it.
He wants it.
He's making the push on social media for them to make, and I get it. Like, it would be a great device for people that are into the Xbox ecosystem, that have tons of games on there. You take it on the go. You're going to PAX. You're going to GDC, right? It's just like, hey, my wife's watching the TV. I'm gonna take it to go to bed or whatever. Yeah, so it's very much like the Banjo Bros, you know, with the new Banjo game. Even though I'm not interested in it, I do want my Banjo Bros to get their Banjo game. So I do want my Xbox handheld bros to be able to experience and have a dedicated Xbox handheld device. I do think it would be cool. There's a part of me that wonders, how big is that addressable market? Like, is it going to make people who wouldn't give Xbox a second chance to suddenly be like, you know what? The handheld's what does it for me. Now I'm going to buy one. Now I'm going to invest into it. Because Nintendo is, they run that market. They run the handheld market. Is it, so, you know, and it's Steam, what we're doing with the Steam Deck, people seem to love that, but I'm not sure, like, it's not like the Steam Deck is blowing everything out of the water when it comes to sales of that. So that's what I think of, is like, is this what's going to get, outside of great games, because I think that's what it is like great experiences, is the handheld going to deliver more new customers into the Xbox ecosystem? Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but I still want my friends to get their hands on one, because I do think it would be a cool device.
And that's a point that I hang on right there. I think you hit it so well, and you and Jez brought up so many things that I feel and I want to talk about. But there is that feeling of like, well, if the quote is we want to find new players, making a dedicated Xbox-only handheld doesn't feel like you're finding new players. It feels like you're like adding on to something and giving me a new opportunity to go out. And sure, that might attract new players, but is that going to really push the needle, Rand? And that's the one part that I'm interested in, because later on in this super long interview, we talk about Phil and the idea of like the open market and tearing down these walls and allowing possibly Epic Game Store and other game fronts being sold on your console marketplace. And I think that's where it's got to be, Rand. Like,
bro, just
as
grab
much
me.
as I want a dedicated Xbox handheld, and I will be there day one, and as Jez said, I love the entitlements now, feeling like, oh, whenever I buy an Xbox game, now it's on, my PC Xbox, it's on my Xbox console, and on this mobile device. That's a big win for me. I think that's where I struggled with the Steam Deck of, oh, now I'm playing this weird, I'm buying games on Steam, but also I buy a lot of games on Xbox, but like, now I got to pick and choose, and I'm choosing where I play and when I play and how much money I'm putting in. But from a consumer standpoint, I kind of want a mobile device to be able to play anything and buy anything off of anywhere. And I worry that I don't know if it would attract a larger market saying, well, it's Xbox only, right? Like for me as an Xbox player, yeah. But if I want to buy games on Steam or the Epic Game Store, does that really attract more people? You know what I mean, Jez?
I think Xbox Game Pass does a lot of heavy lifting there. And obviously, like the ROG Ally and the Lenovo Legion Go, they both have these Game Pass marketing deals. Like, Microsoft's Windows monopoly gives them a lot of leverage in that space. I think, like, whenever you see an Asus ROG Ally ad or a Lenovo Legion Go ad, and I've seen them on Reddit and on the web, they always have a Game Pass.
You're selling bark?
Every single time.
They need some
and
bark.
I think both of these devices come with 3-month Game Pass trials when you buy them new. So I do think Game Pass does some heavy lifting there for these devices, and Microsoft can bundle them with Game Pass, and for people who are like a dedicated you know, a dedicated PC player or a dedicated PlayStation player especially, I think this could be a good, you know, gateway device into into Game Pass if it's dockable to the TV as well. They could be like, well, I've got my PlayStation for my banger exclusives and my, you know, my PlayStation ecosystem, but then I've got my nifty little handheld for you know, the Game Pass stuff. But it has to be appropriately priced for that universe, I think. So like, and again, like, if this does run full Windows and if it can run third-party storefronts, I kind of feel like it's the hardware is less subsidized in that scenario. Like, if it is just Xbox only, then it's subsidized by the ecosystem, because like all the games and microtransactions being sold are giving Microsoft a cut. Whereas if like you buy the handheld and you go off and install Steam, there's zero profit for Microsoft in that scenario on the hardware front, you know, assuming they sell it at cost, which means they wouldn't, if it did run full Windows in order to run these storefronts, then they would have to price it higher in order to make a profit on the hardware. There has to be some profit somewhere, you know. But at the same time, in those Polygon interviews from GDC, Phil was talking about being in a world where you could run Epic Games Store on Xbox or Steam on Xbox. And I've been told in the past that, you know, even though like, you know, Steam does take, I can't remember exactly what the cut is it 20% now or something like that, 30%, something like that, and Epic Games takes 12% or something. It slides up and down based on how big your company is, I think. But whatever the cut is, like, I was told, that, and this is something not a lot of people think about, but I was told, like, even though, like, people always talk about how, like, when Xbox is running its own store, they don't have to pay a Steam or an Apple or a Google or an Epic a cut, right? But they kind of have to pay themselves a cut, or they lose a cut to themselves, because there's overheads in running your own platform. You have to pay bandwidth costs, you have to pay server costs, support team costs, engineers, all that kind of stuff. So like, when you factor in the overheads of running your own platform, you end up in a situation where actually it's almost equal to just letting Steam deal with all that bullshit, you know? Or it's almost equal, not quite, but it's like, it's getting there, right? So, you know, these days it's kind of like, we're just moving into a different kind of era with regards to, you know, having new content on every platform possible to make the most money possible, and that kind of feeds into the whole multi-platform discussion and that kind of stuff. But I think that's really what Phil was talking about, is like, if people already have their digital libraries on Steam, digital libraries on the Epic Games Store, really what you're doing is you're providing hardware to be a gateway to your content no matter where you are, and Microsoft has to try and figure out how to live in that world. And I mean, frankly, they already do, because they own Windows, which is the window to that world. You know?
That's right. You know, my mind goes to like a Microsoft gaming
tablet, he's dead already?
You want to call it, right? Like, you drop the Xbox term and it is the Microsoft handheld, I guess, goes to my mind, because yeah, like we talked about, it is interesting of what you would allow on that. Is it Xbox only? You brought up some great points of like, I need this to be able to be docked. I know Phil talked about the things he likes, right? Like, I want it to boot up with a controller. I want it to feel controller first almost, but also be handheld. I want it to be docked. I need it to be able to download X amount of games and run them, because I'm not always in Wi-Fi. I don't feel like I can always utilize the cloud at all times. And so there's like a number of lists that it's got to have. And then at the same time, I think on the business side that we all talked about is, how do you attract new players? And does this excite someone that's not in the Xbox ecosystem to go, I'm going to buy this, and now I'm going to be semi-ingrained in your ecosystem buying games? It will be very fun. I guess my question for the both of you as we kind of move past this one is, do you expect this holiday? Do you expect this next generation? We have seen Xbox come out with 2 SKUs to start off a generation with the Xbox Series S and X. Do we expect this to be a mid-gen refresh next to something, or do you think Next generation, it might be, hey, here's the biggest and the baddest, and here's a mobile game device instead of the Xbox Series S. Randall Thor.
That's in Kyoto?
Well, now we need to determine like when's next gen starting, right? Because it's like, is it 2028 as per the leaks that we had seen that Microsoft mistakenly uploaded last year, where it pointed to, okay, next gen starting in 2028, or the current rumors of next gen starting in 2026, right? I'm of the belief, although I don't know, my like perfect scenario when I look at it is like, okay, we're gonna start in 2026. We have two offerings. We have our console, which is gonna do X, Y, and Z. It's the successor to the Xbox Series X, and essentially the successor to the Series S is this handheld. So you're rocking into next generation with, you know, a new console and a new handheld, and you got the games to support it and all that stuff, and you kind of just
damn, she looks badass.
I don't know if Jez feels
got
the
a metal
same.
arm.
I think he's coming around to my way of thinking, because I think before he was very much, it's going to be two consoles and a handheld, but I think he might have revised that line of thinking. What do you think, Jez?
Yeah, I kind of thought like I kind of imagined that the handheld would probably be more expensive than the Series S. So like if you got a $399 Series S or $299, sorry, and then a $499 Xbox Series X, you kind of need an upgrade path for both of those systems, right? And I was thinking like the handheld would probably be $399 maybe, something like that. So like that could sit in the middle. Because like if we, you know, comparing it to what the Steam Deck's price is roughly, but like I kind of been hinted at that probably would be the case, like what Rand was saying, is that it'd be the Xbox Series S. The upgrade path for the Xbox Series S would be the handheld with the dock maybe and all that kind of stuff, and then ideally there would be a higher end system that would just sit underneath your TV or upright next to your TV, as the case may be. That would be the you know, the high end option. I do think they'll do two SKUs again. I think that works pretty well for them. Having a system that, you know, I don't know, the Series S.
Man, the frames are really fucked up over there. What the fuck was that?
Super accessible has helped Xbox reach new audiences, and this is probably why they're even thinking about doing a handheld in the first place, you know. But I think like the fact that, you know, if ideally, and this is kind of what the YouTuber Forks was talking about. Forks is like a really great gaming handheld oriented YouTuber, and he does a lot of analysis on the technology with regards to this stuff. And he makes a great point that like even though the Series S, sorry, is criticized heavily today,
that's gonna happen to you.
For devs, if they did make a handheld SKU that directly mirrored the Series S, then they'd have thousands of games already optimized for that system. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if that's feasible. I don't know if that's doable with the current technology we have. I don't know if like it'd have to be a completely new chipset. I imagine it probably would be, which might exclude the Series S endpoint and require entire new, you know, development.
You got combos.
In a handheld.
I got guns.
But I would hope that wouldn't be the case, because that would, you know, that would really justify. It would be the perfect justification for the Series S to have ever existed in the first place. Is that okay? Like, and all these devs would just be something like, oh great, we don't have to do any extra work to get these games running on this
you guys are dumb.
lower end system, because, you know, handhelds would have to make kind of compromises that PS5 Pro or Xbox Series X2 or PlayStation 6 wouldn't have to make.
Shit,
so,
my man with the boots.
Yeah, I
nice.
really do like that idea of the handheld Series S. It kind of is the dream, you know. That's what Phil Spencer said, you know, it's the dream, right? I can't believe how well Dragon's Dogma 2 runs on the Series S.
Ooh, really good shout out right there. Runs well. That's great. Heck yeah.
Yeah, it runs really. I mean, you know, it doesn't look pretty, you know, but it's sort of like, because it's such a demanding game, you would expect that it would struggle on the Series S, but like the Series S still has, you know, the better CPU, so it still performs, you know, albeit a bit blurry, you know. But the blur wouldn't matter so much if it was on a handheld, because the screen would be squashed anyway, and it end up looking sharper. But there's all kinds of AI things they can do now as well, like upscaling, machine learning.
Come and join the
frame
fight.
Generation even. A lot of people use like this lossless scaling app to generate frames on these handheld devices now, and God knows what else. There's all sorts of technology coming down the pipeline that could improve the experience here. But yeah, it's super exciting, man. I'm super excited about this whole rumor, which is so far completely unsubstantial.
That's the exciting one for me. I'm right there with you guys, as I think next generation, as we talked about with the Xbox Series S, it's been the Trojan horse into many people's lives and, you know, living rooms of, hey, here's a cheaper option. Hey, this is that secondary console. Maybe it's
fuck you, man. I'm trying to fight your bro.
Console. Buy this at a cheaper rate. Try it out. Game Pass. But I think if you could do a handheld with a docked situation, that would be a major win to be the second option there. That's possibly a little bit cheaper than the big box. You have that, hey, you all love the Nintendo Switch, and that's not going anywhere. What if we made something similar with the same options? I think that's a major win for Xbox, and I hope we see that, because it does sound fun to me. But guys, I only have a few for a little more time, so I want to hit a couple of quick topics with you guys, all right? One, Toys for Bob has gone independent. My good friend, Jez Corden, has a nice little exclusive that Toys for Bob has teamed up with Microsoft and Xbox. They are now, you know, being helped to make another game.
Oh, you forgot about that big-ass shrine there?
Is there a dream game from Toys for Bob that is an independent game, but now partnership with Xbox that you would love to see from them?
Oh, you want to go around?
Well, I was just gonna say, I know what Paris is gonna say.
You know,
oh, there it
is.
It's not the big one.
Like, put him on banjo.
It's a little.
Right.
Right away.
Right away.
Let's just go up in her. Come on.
You know what? I'll say if we're working in the confines of existing IPs that either Activision or Xbox or Bethesda has, and I'm assuming it'll be to Toys for Bob's strength, which is platformers, essentially, in that vein.
Bro, can you climb?
Why not go with the new Spyro? Right? They did the remake a few years back. We haven't seen like Spyro, whatever the next one be, like 4, right? Because they did the Banjo, or they did the Crash remakes, and then they did Crash 4, and then they were kind of like, okay, we're in the Call of Duty machinery now, right? So I was like, all right, yeah, you know what, Spyro? Why don't like a brand new Spyro built from the ground up? I could go for that. I used to really like Spyro, so that would be my pick. Would be along that line. Not something like, I know people like new IP, and that's all fine and good, but I think Spyro deserves his, you know,
out of
day in
ammo.
the sun again. Jazz, do you have a different opinion? You want to see something else?
Well, I want to give a shout out to what's his name? Is he Canadian? I can never remember people's names. Canadian guy on YouTube who actually put a report up today saying that yeah, Canadian guy A.
Yeah, that's a good name. That's a good name.
That's he's put up a report on YouTube, and he's a big Crash.
What are these guys doing with him?
YouTube.
Good shit.
He's a very
what the fuck?
fan base, and these like, I feel like I was slightly too old to get into these games, but there seems like there's been
bully him,
get him in the corner. Age group with these games like Banjo, Spyro,
Valdo
really captured, and there still is passionate fan base for these like.
All right, that's it.
Toys for these IPs that now Toys for Bob just do. It's obviously, you know, Crash was originally Naughty Dog, and was Spyro originally Insomniac, I think, or something like that. It's kind of funny how like these games have all ended up under Microsoft, you know, because obviously they didn't own Banjo, Spyro, or Crash originally. But yeah, he's put up a.
Oh my God, these are great camera angles. I love these tiny little fighting arenas.
He's working on, and you know, when Toys for Bob announced that they were spinning off and were becoming independent, they did.
Damn, I can't.
Note in the in their update at the end, they said, keep your horns on, which kind of felt like a little bit of a tease for Spyro, you know. There's been rumors of a new Spyro game for a really long time.
Jesus Christ.
But obviously, like, Toys for Bob were in the Call of Duty.
Love these
Cold
camera
War,
angles. Can't fucking parry without goddamn getting pushed into a corner.
You know, forced to...
Bro, these corners, these fucking walls. Jesus fucking Christ. Holy shit!
Closed up and
horrible,
sort of
terrible camera.
You've got to save Call of Duty.
Jesus fucking
So, like,
it's not even the camera, it's just everywhere in the fucking game is so tiny. All the inside fighting areas are so fucking tiny. Why? Everywhere is so small.
Role and it's
this
not
game is
what
like in fucking mini mode.
For their studio, for their teams, and you know, you gotta imagine it was like a sort of not fun, you know. And then like they made the Crash multiplayer brawler game, which was sort of, you know, underbaked, and it was doomed to never you know, do anything. What they really needed was to be making games
skill issue, bro.
They're good at making.
Just parry.
Like, you know, Crash
and you won't have bad camera angles.
But I don't think they would ever have been able to do that as part of the Activision sphere. And it looks like Microsoft gave them opportunity to take the same route that Twisted Pixel did yesteryear and go independent. So for me, I'm not really into these kind of games. Boys. Like I say, I was maybe slightly too old to be captured by that zeitgeist or something. But like Rand says, I'm all for the Banjo Bros, and I'd love to see Toys for Bob find success with Game Pass.
Why do we keep letting this guy run? That's like this. That's the second time we let him run.
But maybe Banjo's the one
Why?
after that, and maybe Crash is the one after that.
Why?
You know,
this game is so fucking stupid, man.
These games can find their audiences again. I know a lot of people were hoping that they might bring Skylanders back too. You know, and Phil called out Skylanders in some of the interviews.
Oh my god, another bond established.
Had some people excited, but
this game is so fucking unnecessary. Who the fuck are these people?
Partnership similarly to what Microsoft has with
fucking
some of the
Ernest. Why is he my friend? Fucking jetpack boot guy.
Work on a ton of
oh, so he can give me British training
without being
nice.
Part of Microsoft, and also
British flying boots,
working on Halo,
which I guarantee are not gonna fly.
So hopefully, this can be like the start of something really great.
Where are they?
We'll see a lot of cool stuff.
Oh man, I mean, first
British
off,
flying
awesome
boots.
That Toys for Bob is getting the partnership and like staying alive, right? Like you said, they became a cog in the wheel on supporting Call of Duty, and it was like, man, that's a talented team that was making games that I loved, and it is sad to see that we're not getting that. So I love.
Let's put them on.
You know, I don't want them to go independent because I wish they were part of Microsoft.
Great.
But it is
Can't
nice
fly.
that they have a partnership. We're
Big surprise.
going to see the benefits of that, and hopefully it is enough to
Perfect.
keep them going and making another game after whatever this game is really what matters to me. That's awesome. And you bring up Skylanders.
What was I wearing before?
All the Xbox characters as Skylander toys would be so awesome. Holy cow, that would be actually kind of cool. So we'll see about that. But if it is Spyro 4, I think some people are going to be pretty jazzed up. Guys, I got two more for you before we go. This one came out from PureXbox.com. One of the best friends linked this one to me and said, Mike, did you see this? This comes from Ben Carey over at Pure Xbox that writes, major game maker reportedly questioning Xbox support amidst falling sales. The article quickly reads, some gaming companies are starting to question whether it's worth for them to continue supporting Xbox consoles. A new comment from GameIndustry.biz's Chris Drings concludes. Appearing on another episode of the outlet's Microcast, Dring spoke about GDC 2024 and some of the discussions about Xbox that had cropped up at the conference. Dring says that multiple game makers included, quote, one major
I gotta fight Riomo again. I gotta beat my best friend's ass.
To question why the team bothers porting to Xbox. Here's the phrase coming from part of the interview. Of course, they're snipping out part of whatever this is.
Oh,
So
it's
maybe
like
out of
a
context,
Ghost of
but
Tsushima
I'll read it to you
thing.
and ask these two dudes what they think. Quote, the phrase one major
Oh
company
yeah,
who
face
released
off
a
with
big
my
game
best
last
friend
year
or my
said,
master,
I don't know
whoever.
why we bothered supporting it, meaning Xbox, end quote. Jez, what's up with that? Is
Let's
that
fight.
really what
Shut the
people
fuck
think
up,
about bringing
Riomo.
their games to Xbox, you think?
Well,
What the? You tried to shoot me?
I've had some
Fuck you.
conversations about these quotes, and it's like, you know, it's interesting the way these things get framed. It's like if one person, one publisher said, "Oh, we don't know why we did this," you know, and it's kind of like, well, you know,
bro, chill, bro. Why are you shooting me?
Here and all this kind of stuff, because there's a few things that I know to be true, and one of them is January was the highest playtime hours in Xbox history.
There you go. Fuck you, pussy.
World had some, you know, hand in that. Of course it did, but it's like people always say like Xbox was doing better during the 360 gen. It's just not true. It's better. Xbox is bigger now than it's ever been. It's got more users than it's ever had, and this is console.
Oh my god, these combos, Riomo.
It's like,
what
no,
is? Bro, stop shooting me.
Xbox has more users.
The fuck is this?
Today than it's ever had, and these are comments that.
What happened to one friendly? What happened to one friendly game?
You know, so you know, the idea that publishers are sort of, you know, talking about this kind of stuff.
What a fucking pussy.
It's necessarily
fuck you, man.
Xbox. I think it's just, it's part of it's probably reflective of the whole industry, and you know, these so-called black hole games where people get sucked into a single game and that's all they ever play. I mean, we were talking earlier about how like Overwatch is pretty much the only multiplayer shooter I still play. Like I won't even bother, you know, trying out Call of Duty anymore because I don't know what it is about that kind of stuff. It's almost like it takes extra effort to learn a new game when I'm just like, I'm just so tired, you know. And when, at the end of the day, it's just like, I'll just play what I'm familiar with, right? If I'm...
Shoot!
You know,
why the fuck did that take so long?
Because, you know, you don't have to relearn everything. And if you're playing competitively, you know, it can be kind of frustrating to be like, oh, I'm really great at Overwatch, and then you go and play Call of Duty, and it's like, oh well, I'm terrible at Call of Duty. I'll just go back and play.
Bro, stop with the fucking homing bullets.
I'm sure it's like other games like Fortnite are taking them.
This fight is so fucking stupid. What the fuck is this?
And so many play hours away from people, but it's hard for maybe some smaller games, especially like cookie cutter games, to sort of cut through that.
What a dumb... Bro, I fucking hate this game.
A Ubisoft.
I'm the main character. Let me be cool. Stop giving the enemies the same exact fucking cool moves as me, but you're making them stronger.
One of their games to Xbox, like, which are pretty much like Avatar or whatever it was called, and some of these other games which sort of probably had big budgets and big teams, but it probably didn't sell. You know, we heard rumors that the Prince of Persia game didn't sell in general, you know, and I don't know why that is. Is it an issue with marketing? Is it an issue with the way Ubisoft's viewed these days?
He's actually the most annoying fight that I've had so far.
I don't know.
Fucking terrible. Just spamming your gun and fucking... He can do so many moves and just fucking no problem with his key. And I have to constantly parry all of it. He just keeps going. Fuck you, man. Fuck you.
Skipping Xbox, you know.
I was gonna use my gun until you started fucking popping at me like a...
Games are skipping
God
Xbox,
damn.
really. It's just we hear about them every now and then, but it's the vast majority.
I'll get it done. Just get the fuck out of my face. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see anybody. If I've had to fight every single person that I bond with, I fucking hate all of them.
I also, you know, this same interview, they also said that Xbox is de-emphasizing Xbox Game Pass.
Finally, Riomo is out of my fucking life.
I've been told that this year, Microsoft will spend more than ever on third-party content deals for Xbox Game Pass. That certainly doesn't sound like...
This katana is...
Also, they just announced mouse and keyboards.
I don't get it, man.
Gaming, which of course,
like, it's one level higher.
Does not sound like the emphasis to me.
It's one level higher.
Because, like I said,
but
most publishers are
it has fucking shitty stats on it.
Seeing, like,
it's like the most powerful. It's the most powerful katana I have. The stats are fucking garbage.
Like an EA game or something like
Attack
that.
assassination.
Then I think that's it's
but
a story.
I don't need that shit.
Sort of like, I heard
fucking.
this and I heard that.
the most important part of the game is the boss battles and the tough enemies. You don't have a chance to assassinate most of them.
I don't really take it.
Any of the bosses, actually, like the main actual bosses, you can't assassinate them.
Well, I mean,
attack
hearing
nighttime.
a comment like that is a bit concerning.
Okay, whatever.
As someone who primarily plays on Xbox,
extremely specific. Who the fuck is
games skip the platform? Granted,
fucking only turning their clock at night just to play with a sword?
Aren't games that I'm particularly
This game is so
but
fucking
as I've
dumb.
said, you don't want games skipping your platform.
Increases the damage you can deal when
right?
executing
games
a
might
violent
skip the
gale.
Switch because
What the
Switch
fuck
may
is
not
with
be
this
able to
game
run
and the
it.
violent
Technical
gale
reason
stat?
why they're not there.
Who the fuck
but
is
you never hear
constantly
really about,
switching
like,
their
games
weapons? I'm always running out of key. First of all,
PlayStation or PC just doesn't happen. So
I
to
don't
hear
need
this
fucking
comment
to do more
on top
extra
of, like,
moves.
the recent
I need something to
talk,
recover my
like,
key.
of Xbox exploring.
The key recovery
more
counter
their
spark is
games
so
to
rare,
platforms.
or at least like the good ones
You
are
know,
rare.
A third party could be like, hey,
Fuck.
why are we even supporting this? Microsoft's not even supporting it. Like,
The
and
key
I think this
recovery
is also
counter,
off the
it's
back
almost not
of
even
the
worth. Like, God, this is
dire
490
reports
damage.
of
I'm just gonna use
Xbox's
that.
console sales being down 47%
Fuck, man.
in Europe for the month of February.
It's just so much better.
Which is not good. So
Yeah,
there
passive
could be,
stats don't matter. It does fucking 50
publishers
more
and
damage.
developers
Look at that.
whose primary
Fucking insane.
market is the European market, where Xbox definitely
Alright, so weapon
seems to
proficiency,
be,
the highest level is 25.
lagging it behind. Where if you are someone who's like, hey, we're thinking about supporting you, but you don't got a lot of consoles in there, and people aren't, we're not going to really support it.
231.
So it is concerning.
This one's
when
at
I hear stuff like that.
422. This one's 462.
I mean, I had this conversation with Jez
Key
offline
recovery rate,
about
medicine
these particular
efficacy.
It's just one of those things that makes me raise my eyebrow,
I'll
and
take
I'm just
that.
like, hopefully Xbox heard this, and
This
they
isn't
can
that much more
get to the
damage.
bottom of it, because what we
But
don't
this
want,
is
like,
a lot of this.
a
These are
situation
really
where
good counter spark stuff,
big
but it's
publisher,
just not worth it.
like
I just-
Ubisoft
I
or
have
Take-Two
so little
or
armor, and it's so fucking
Square,
expensive to
even,
upgrade everything.
Even though the Final
Even with
Fantasy
my fucking
remakes,
passives
Rebirth
upgraded
aren't on Xbox
to
yet,
make everything cheap at the
it seems
store,
like
I still
that's
can't
changing,
afford like to
at least
fucking
with, like,
upgrade
moving
it to
forward
the
with 14
current level
and
that I'm competing
maybe even
at.
16 being rumored.
It's fucking ridiculous.
You don't want to be in a situation where, like,
Counter
suddenly a
spark
publisher
7%,
deems
I'll
your
take that.
platform not, like, worthy of
Gives me a
support.
little
'Cause
bit
that
of my
would-
counter spark
That would
juice.
be awful.
Alright, now I'm just doing max damage everything.
but,
Oh, and the
yeah, you can
revolver
never
too.
can
Fuck that, I'll
discount
just change
agendas.
that. Revolver,
Like
whatever does the
whoever
most damage.
told,
Whatever.
Christopher Dring that,
Just
maybe that
fucking-
person has an agenda, and he's essentially
I don't have
spoiling
a
the
better bow, 44.
the water, and essentially telling them something that he wants to.
That's
I'll
in the
take that,
book.
fuck it.
Being
Yeah,
like,
like-
oh, my game didn't sell. It's Xbox's fault.
I don't know. It's just I do kind of. There's a part of me that does worry about this stuff, but we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know. How do you feel, Mike?
No, well said from both of you, and I like what Jez brought up, and I actually really like what you brought up there, Rand. Is if we bring in the realities of it all, right? We're talking about the third place console maker out of the three of them, right? And so, yeah, I guess you could look at it with some trepidation of like, well, you're in third place. How much are we really going to sell out of that? And also, my mind kind of goes to Game Pass. I think Jez brought up a good one of like,
I didn't even download that. Fuck.
That's Craig Miller, one of my coworkers.
Okay.
No, I usually say, yeah, I'll say boss or
That's fair.
co-host.
That's fair.
Depending on the league's Joker season is unbelievably bad. This is according to Paul Tassi at Forbes. While I was not exactly expecting Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League's new Joker season to save the already failed game, I was not expecting it to be one of the worst live season launches I have ever seen. I'm gonna pause there and say these are all the words of Paul Tassi, right? This is more of an opinion piece than a news story, but it also kind of doubles as a news story because like we gotta know what's going on in this.
Here's
update.
what we'll say. I'll say. You don't have to say it. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
put words in your mouth. Paul Tassi is the homie, and Paul Tassi is the live service homie. This is the guy who's in the trenches for Destiny, was in the trenches for Avengers. If there's a live service game, he is playing it. He is talking about it. He knows this beat better than anybody I think working right now. So if he's saying it's that disastrous, it's right.
He continues, it's a void of content, a mountain of grinding, and a complete lack of a story that was promised to continue after the abrupt ending of the campaign. What went wrong here? Quite literally almost everything. After the first day, in which I have finished essentially everything, here's what happened. And he bullet points it. And he bullet points it in like large paragraphs, which means he had something to say.
I didn't even. Again, like I'm not being.
The animation didn't even end. He fucking started attacking me
so well. And so last night, yesterday, when I saw him do
the
initial
I forgot to critical him.
Of like,
shit.
Am I missing something? I was like, oh my god. And I would check in every so often to see. I didn't even get up. Not a. Like this, as you're tweeting, it's all
they
happening
didn't change
if he wasn't
shit
from I figured it out. Here's the thing.
So
that this is the article.
Like
yeah,
the
this
double enemy fights are still fucking insane.
You're not given Joker when you log in.
Give me a break.
Unlike when Marvel's Avengers dropped a new character.
You have massive...
Instead, you're told to grind to season rank 35 to fight Brainiac, to then unlock him. This is not Battle Pass rank or Mastery rank, but a separate third rank that'll force you to grind somewhere between 10 to 20 missions, depending on the mission, to reach that level. This is old content with your old characters, but your difficulty is capped on things like incursions, making them impossibly easy with your already powerful builds. And then he goes on to his next bullet point. There are no new mission types at launch here. 0. There was supposed to be something called a stronghold, but it may not launch until halfway through the season, and it's not here now. Instead, the new incursions are either straight up killing enemies, grunts in 1, brutes in 1, infused enemies in 1, and then the anti-aircraft gun mini mission for the first game. Third bullet point. The Brainiac boss fight is a barely modified version of the Green Lantern fight.
Oh, shocking. Who would have called it? Me.
Think he's going to be
me, baby.
Think he's going to at least summon new alien constructs with the ring? Wrong. The same helicopters, mines, guns, everything.
Who the fuck is this little guy?
The first Brainiac copied the Flash boss fight at the end of the campaign. Bullet point number 4. As for Joker story content, there are exactly 2 things. A motion comic at the season opening showing him being trapped by Brainiac. Then when you rescue him, there's a brief cutscene with him being taken to Argus and recruited. He doesn't even speak to Harley, and she just tells Shark she's not into comedians anymore. There's no story mission related to Joker at all. There are no story missions in the season whatsoever, as I am not counting that bad Brainiac fight. And the next couple bullet points I shortened because I didn't want to read this forever, but bullet point number 5.
How badly can we beat this dead horse?
Yeah. Once you have Joker, it's ... back to grinding the same stuff again. Nothing new appears. And then the next bullet point, Joker himself is ... fine. As I've said before, the problem with Suicide Squad is that all these characters are close to identical, minus their traversal and ultimate. This is ridiculous. This game is beyond dead if this is how it's going to handle its seasons. The live aspect could have explained what was missing from the campaign if they'd held back stuff to add later.
Of course.
This is not what happened. There is nothing. It's unbelievable. Greg?
You're unbelievable. Yeah.
You're somebody who I guess would be in the market for Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League somewhat. I know you weren't as jazzed for like the Suicide Squad aspect of it, but you know, you liked Avengers. You like a live service thing. This is in DC world. You give it a fair shot. When you read this, I guess what goes through your mind about this game?
Man, when I read this, I can't believe how badly this has been fumbled and how they learned nothing from Avengers, even making the wrong decisions from Avengers, right? Where it was like, love or hate Avengers, right? At least when you wanted to go play the new Hawkeye, you got the new Hawkeye right away. When you wanted to be Spider-Man, he was there right away on PlayStation. You know what I mean? The new character was immediately available that you could go through and have fun with and have that part. Let alone the motion comic and the chirping from the Avengers.
Come on, bro. You keep. Like, why you keep getting me when I'm on the ground?
This is cool. They're
what a fucking pussy.
Of course, they never made it to because they fucked up real bad and their game was not great. To see Rocksteady, to see WB just trip on the same sticks in the path and do it worse apparently, and also get to, like, if you remember when I was talking about how much I did not like Suicide Squad at review, right? I was saying maybe it'll be interesting to check in 6 months, a year, because if these new seasons add new missions, maybe it won't be so blatantly obvious you are doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. And here you are, season 1, no new missions. Right? It's even more glaringly obvious that there's just the most shallow pool ever of what is going on. And that's heartbreaking. You know, and again, like, it brings me, I did the, you know, like, goofy laugh at the beginning, right? Mainly because so many people were like, not so many people people were like, "You don't get it, Greg. You know what Suicide Squad."
I did see a lot of that on the internet.
Well, there's a lot of
getting mad at
this guy liked Avengers and he doesn't like this game, and I'm like, yes, I like the most mid superhero game of all time, and I can't enjoy this game. That's a problem, right? It's just more the fact that like here we are, and Suicide Squad will continue to be, I feel,
asshole.
until it's dead. Like one of my most fascinating stories. I will, whenever Paul puts something up about an update, whenever Rocksteady says something or doesn't say something, I'm gonna want to know about it immediately, because like, how long can this go on? This was the big, yeah, the game didn't do this, but it's got some people.
I literally just shot all of you.
Maybe season 1 drops and can get people back and can do this different thing, right? The 24-hour peak as of right now is 3,000 players on Steam. Not great.
Yeah,
better than what it was before, but I mean,
above like the first day of a new season.
Yeah, right? For the first day of the all-time peak of this was 13, or about 13.5 thousand, 13,500, right? So you're just talking about like a game that just did not do it and is not doing it now. And again, in a world of mass layoffs, in a world of a video game industry being more cutthroat than ever, you got to. In a world of fucking Warner Brothers. The people who are like, yeah, that Coyote movie looks pretty good. Fucking throw it away for a tax break. Throw away Batgirl for a tax break. Close Rooster Teeth. Do this. We're trying to make money and save money and do this thing. They cannot be looking at this and being like, well, we promised however many seasons. Like, again, remember, the Suicide Squad game's end of story is the launch of, spoilers. You need to go fight 12 different Brainiacs that are going to be out in these seasons.
Jules, what are you going to gangbang me in a 3-4-on-1?
It's like, what?
What do you want?
Like, you're not getting the rest of those fucking Brainiacs. There is no way Warner Brothers wants to throw good money after bad of like, well, we made a promise. And then you look at the domino effect of like, what does that mean for Rocksteady? What does it mean for a studio that is clearly, we go back to Naughty Dog, right? And when they canceled their project, clearly staffed up for a live service game that they were going to be a part of, and they needed to support it for years. If that's gone in the next 6 months, is Rocksteady still around? Is it just a mass layoff at Rocksteady? Where is Rocksteady right now in
what does
pre-production
WB do
on
with
their next
WB
thing?
games, right? We're coming off of Gotham Knights not doing so well a couple years ago, right? This not doing so well. I know the Hogwarts Legacy game has been the biggest success so far for WB games in the last few years, right? But I think you need way more than Hogwarts Legacy, especially when we talk about the news story from a couple weeks ago where they talk about, oh yeah, we saw the success with Hogwarts Legacy.
Burn everybody.
We're double down on service, right? Like, they don't really. I don't think they understand what they want over there, or I don't think they understand exactly the realities of what's going on with games as a service.
I harken back to, I remember when there was all the rumors that they were trying to sell the games division. I think that's what they want to do, and wanted to do, and probably want to do now.
What the fuck?
And they are just
thanks for ruining my stealth,
diluting their
pussy.
own value by putting out disappointment after disappointment. Hogwarts notwithstanding, right? But what does this mean for Wonder Woman? Like, what's going on with this Wonder Woman single player?
Why does the game feel so slow right now?
Good? Is WB not getting in the way of it? Remember when they put up the job posting at Monolith that was like, we need somebody with games as a service experience, and then the next day after it all got cycled, they had to put out a statement being like, it is a single player game, there are no microtransactions, or live service battle pass kind of thing, whatever.
That's crazy. They get all their fucking key back right away, fucking immediately.
The problem is they want to sell the games division, and obviously none of the IP.
Oh yeah.
Do I want to buy Rocksteady if they can't make Batman games? Like, don't we? I
think one of the things they talked about.
Oh, that's why it was so slow. I was using the wrong fighting style.
Oh yeah, we'll sell you the studio, but you can still license out the IP from us. But
yeah,
with that, you would imagine
I've
it would keep a lot of that
I forget
money.
if that's a rumor, if that's actually a report, but I've heard that before, sure. Or maybe it was just us intelligently guessing what's probably going on. Yeah, but I would imagine that's what they're trying to do, and everybody's like, no, you suck at this, and you also don't fucking get it. Like, if Warner Brothers came in right now, like, we want to buy Kind of Funny, I'm like, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? Well, I'll be out of business in a year. You'll just get like, they're
and I think
soulless.
you also like you look at NetherRealm, right? NetherRealm is a very talented studio.
Ed Boon be safe. Ed Boon be safe out there, all right?
You know, NetherRealm is a studio that I don't want anything bad to happen, right? Like I want them to be in business forever. But if you're looking to sell NetherRealm, but you're not looking to sell Mortal Kombat or like a DC property with them, then what are they going to do, right? Like, are they going to create a new Mortal Kombat? You know
it gets into such a weird thing of like, if you were doing all that and I was Marvel Games, I saw it go through the chat, it's already gone, but Rocksteady should make a Daredevil game, right? It's like,
yeah.
But again, that's not even what Marvel Games does, because they pivoted a while back to being what I think is a way smarter brand of like, cool, it costs a lot of money to run studios and keep studios employed when they're not making stuff. So we will partner with studios. We will let them use our IP. We will do these projects together, but we won't own them. We won't have a internal Marvel game studio. And obviously, knock on wood, that's what it was back then. I'm sure that could change at any time, blah, blah, blah. But I don't see it being, oh, you're looking to offload Rocksteady. Yes, we'd love to buy them and have them make this and spin it up. And 7 years from now, you get a Daredevil game from the studio we're just pouring money into.
Yeah. I do want to point out in the chat, Callum says, that's a nice mug, Greg.
Thank you.
And that is a nice mug. Is that one that just like, is that in the drawers here, or did you bring it home?
It's in the drawers here. It's a very nice piece of pottery.
I've not
of course,
seen this
my
mug
wife
before.
does pottery now. This is not one of hers. She does pottery, so I have more of an appreciation for pottery. I do believe this came in one of the press packs for some game. It's got a little hammer on it. That's also a pencil. So and it's got a dice in the middle. It's 5. I'll continue to describe this logo. Maybe it's like a studio that launched. I would turn it and bear it with digital zoom. I don't know if it actually show. But imagine a hammer. The centerpiece is a dice that has 5 on it. Then there's a pencil below it.
A dice that has 5 on it.
Yeah, like, you know, it's like a die you'd roll in D&D.
It's like this is a riddle. Is this like a Baldur's Gate thing?
No, with a hammer?
They might have hammers in that game.
No, they didn't have hammers back then. The only thing they were hammering was each other. They have sex in that game.
You do have sex in that game. No, you're right.
Yeah. Speaking of sex, my wife's in the chat. Hi, Jim.
One thing I wanted to mention regarding this as well is that they delayed this game a year.
Cameron Kennedy, turns out it's a hate symbol.
They delayed this game for about almost a full year, right? And in that delay, we've had a lot of speculation on, all right, what are they doing, right? Like, obviously you're not going to recreate the game in a year. This is coming after we saw the PlayStation State of Play that was doing like the gameplay breakdown of what Suicide Squad is and all that stuff. My speculation, I think a lot of speculation was that, oh, they must be working on just like post-launch content, you know, making sure that this thing is going to be able to come out.
How can they keep fucking this up? This is what I'm talking about. You saw Avengers. Like, and again, Avengers has so many different problems, but I thought it was a fun game to play, and so did a lot of my friends. What really is what broke Avengers back was
I'm just gonna find
completely fucking up post-launch.
Yep.
People liked the game enough single player at launch. You know what I mean? It had some 8s, it had 7s. It was fine. It was in the middle there.
Shit.
And there was the promise of, well, Spider-Man could be cool. Hawkeyes don't sound cool, but I'm sure we'll get to cool people. But they fucked it up saying that they have a hero a month, and then then you get to Suicide Squad and they couldn't fathom that they needed to have this out there.
And I thought that was the one thing.
Playtesting. You look at the fucking trailer Barrett ran. No one playtesting was like, we don't need another gun. With the Two-Face gun that looks like Two-Face, it's just another gun.
That's really exciting, Greg.
Who gives a shit about it?
Which it makes me wonder, like, what went wrong.
I love that for my DC games.
Like, I would love the documentary, like the breakdown of, hey, how did we get here with Suicide Squad?
Bro, what the fuck?
You know, a game that was in development for a very long time.
Bro, this is worse than fucking Dark Souls. Just let me run.
Almost a year because of fan feedback and because they're like, hey, we're gonna continue working on this thing. And again, like, if they weren't working on this post-launch content, maybe they were working on the post-launch content. This is just a result of it. But if that's the case, like, there's more story that needs to be told, because how in the world did we get here, right? For, I guess, a genre or for a type of game that I think thrives off of, hey, you have to hit with the updates, right? Those seasons have to hit. That content has to hit. I feel like we've seen so few examples, at least in the AAA level, right? When I'm talking about like a Destiny, right? I'm talking about games like that where it is, oh, we put out a season update and people are happy. And even with Destiny has its misses.
Of course.
You know, Destiny only hits like a certain percentage of the time. I wonder if we're ever going to see this slow down in terms of people making this kind of games as a service and like realizing that, oh, this is way more difficult
he's still alive.
Than we're foreseeing, right? Like, if we're not Fortnite, if we're not Destiny, if we're not Call of Duty, then why are we trying to do it at this level?
What the fuck
making
was
content
that?
is difficult. Like, that's what Naughty Dog saw.
Yeah.
You know, I
this
think
will fundamentally change our studio.
This is going to fundamentally change our studio.
Games.
You know, the feedback that was like in the reports or rumors from Bungie to Naughty Dog was that, hey, like, the content here, like the post-launch content, is going to have to hit harder. And even for Naughty Dog, you look at that and you're like, oh, okay, well, to do that, we're going to have to fundamentally change our studio. Let's not do that. You know, like, I wonder if we see this stop. I wonder if we continue to see more games like Suicide Squad in the coming years.
I think it's got to stop, right? I think you have to look at this, and I don't know. I don't know. Nobody does, obviously. We can all talk, right? But I do venture and wonder if you can make a AAA live service game and have it be a success from the start, and then also because what I would you talk about Destiny. When Destiny 1 launched, people jumped in, they liked it, but it was it's vanilla, this thing, and then they added and built, and then you get to Destiny 2, and again, you talk about a game launching a long time ago when there was a different cadence to games, when I think you could give something time to grow and change and evolve, right? Because you can jump to now, and it's like Rumbleverse launches, and we all think it's great, and we have a good time with it, right? But it closes up shop pretty quick because you just can't do that, and it's a little bit apples and oranges. Even I would throw out The Division 2, which so many people, including myself, say launched flawlessly and was great and had all this content, yada yada. It was Division 2, right? They learned their lessons with Division 1. They made a community that stuck with them through all the bumps in the road. They get to Division 2 and go. I think you can then look at something, and I know that we give this game too many flowers probably, but again, Helldivers 2, where not AAA, far fewer expectations. You got nerds like me talking about it from 9 years ago that they can't wait to play it. And then you have it drop, and I really do feel, somebody wrote in, again, P.S. I Love You today is me and Joey talking about how much we love Helldivers and how much we're still playing it, and a bunch of community feedback about it. Someone in there wrote in and was like, for me, this is the first real live service game. Like, it feels live. Something is changing in it every day. There's the narrative of what's going on social media, let alone that. And like, you know, you look at, right now, there's 2,002 players playing Suicide Squad, right? Right now on PC. Right now on Steam, there are 203,000 people playing Helldivers 2, right? And like, when I went to check the Paul article about Suicide Squad, I found the one about, I put into Wii News, but I'll read it here, right?
Thank you,
Paul writes, Helldivers 2 players are about to quite literally erase automatons from the map. The point of the last major order was to capture the comms array to see what the automatons are up to. And since we did that, we learned that the signal was being broadcast outside the current galactic map. That means one of two things. Either A, there is an automaton or cyborg force we don't know about lurking on the outside of known space. Or B, perhaps the automatons are summoning the enemy we know is probably beyond our current map, the Illuminate. The aliens that were the original.
This guy now.
That's fucking based on a little thing up here that's the major order, clear this out, we're down to one planet that it looks like we're gonna take over. We're talking about the fact that when we do that planet, had these guys been sending a signal out to get help from a new and this wasn't the Helldiver stuff. What I'm talking about right now was not in a fucking flashy trailer. It was not in a, hey, we're doing a live stream where the devs are gonna say a bunch of stuff. It's happening organically in the game. And even if you're not turning on, I was playing the game last night with Jack, right? I saw the major order. I didn't go and investigate what the fuck they're talking about. You know, then have people reporting on it as if it's the actual news of what's like.
There's a
Helldivers is
Holy
a live
shit,
game.
this is a really good set that I just got. What the fuck?
It's live in a way Suicide
Blade
Squad
Flash,
would be, right? With like AAA presentation, character models, yada yada yada.
Blade Flash, key recovery, counter spark,
Helldivers and
recovery,
Arrowhead made a sandbox, a toy box, and they're taking those toys and putting them out there, right? And Joel's just putting things out and making things happen. It's like,
nice little
what a brilliant fucking way to do this and make 200,000 people on the early morning Friday be like, I gotta play.
And I think the difference there, right, is like, I think they've scoped that game out in a way that makes sense for what it is, right? It's Helldivers 2 is that team going, all right, what do we want to make, and how do we make something that we can support in that way? And like the support for Helldivers 2, it's not like the craziest thing ever. It's not like they're dropping,
oh my god,
new like the big new like Joker character to play with a bunch of skins and a bunch of like big old battle pass. Like they have a lot of those things, right?
Me and Jules are faded already.
When I look at Helldivers 2, it doesn't seem unmanageable. It doesn't seem
manageable
like,
is exactly what I was gonna say, right? Yeah.
Like it doesn't seem like a thing where it is, oh man, this is gonna break our studio trying to keep up with all this and support this, right? Like Helldivers 2 is a game that is designed for Arrowhead's studio, right? It's designed for Arrowhead to support at the size that Arrowhead is and at the pace that their fans are gonna enjoy, right? I think that's what works about it. And Suicide Squad just feels unattainable. And like there's somebody in chat that was like, you know, CEOs like money, and you know, as long as CEOs keep seeing money in like games of service, is going to continue. My thing is, you know, like at what point do the CEOs stop seeing the money because the money is only being made by a few games at the top? Like you cannot replicate that. You got to replicate something like Helldivers 2.
And so to bring it back to your question at the beginning, right, about AAA studios doing this, big games doing this, like the jig has got to be up on that. I feel like the only people who are still chasing it to that level are disconnected CEOs like Warner Brothers, right? Even you know, the rumor has been, right, I don't think there's been a statement, right? And we won't until we get the oral history, I'm sure, of Suicide Squad from Jason or somebody else. But like the decision to make Suicide Squad and make a live service game apparently came from the heads of Rocksteady, right? That's what they wanted the studio to make, and they have since left the company.
Yeah.
Right? And so again, like you're talking about trying to bet on trends. And the problem is when the trends emerging in the video game world, in a video game of this size, I feel like it's too late. It's just too late. You just can't do it. Like, you know what I mean? Because by the time you see all these other live services fail, fuck up, you're so far down the track. What do? You got to put the game out. You got to do the thing. You got to try to make the money off of it.
We're going to move on to story number 2. But before we do, let me tell you about patreon.com/kindafunny and youtube.com/kindafunnygames, where you can go and get the Kinda Funny membership, which allows you to get shows ad-free. And speaking of ads, let us tell you about our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Shady Rays, an independent sunglasses brand that has over 300,000 5-star reviews. They are on a mission to match affordability with durability, making top quality shades accessible to everyone. They have tons of styles and colors to pick from, so finding the perfect polarized shades is a breeze. If you want an upgrade, we recommend their premium Color Rush lenses. Crafted with rare earth materials, these lenses bring high impact color to life, elevating reds, blues, and greens. Here at Kinda Funny, we all love wearing our Shady Rays, whether it's me looking dope doing my Pokemon Go walks, Snowbike Mike rocking the snow goggles, or Joey just looking fantastic in her tangle-free shades. If your shades go MIA or take a hit, don't sweat it. They've got lost and broken protection, so you're covered from day one. And if you don't love your shades, exchange or return them for free within 30 days. Exclusively for y'all, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code KF20 for $20 off each pair of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Again, that's shadyrays.com and use code KF20 for $20 off each pair of polarized sunglasses.
And we're back. With story number 2, The Witcher 4 Polaris is in full swing as CD Projekt Red devotes bulk of its efforts to development. This is Taylor Lyles at IGN. With the bulk of Cyberpunk 2077 finished, CD Projekt has now shuffled its priorities, putting the bulk of its resources into developing the next mainline the next mainline The Witcher game, codenamed Polaris. During an earnings call to discuss the 2023 fiscal year, CD Projekt revealed that it is dedicating a bulk of its efforts. They do say bulk a lot in this article, of its efforts to developing the next installment in its widely popular fantasy-themed RPG series. CD Projekt was fully transparent with its investors and those listening in on the call, showing exactly how many developers are being allocated to its current and future projects. A chart reveals that it has over 600 developers at the studios, over 400 of whom are assigned Polaris development. Also interesting to note is that the next installment in the Cyberpunk franchise, codenamed Orion, has 47 developers currently assigned to the project. CD Projekt also revealed that Orion is in the concept stage of its development. The company previously revealed that its new studio based in Boston, Massachusetts, has been assigned to work on the project. With today's announcement, some quick math shows that about 64% of its staff are working on The Witcher 4 development. That increase in developers is likely due to a big part of the Cyberpunk 2077 team moving over to work on The Witcher 4. Baird, I have at the top of the article a link to the actual chart that they talk about in the article, and I love how transparent CD Projekt is about it, because they have the full chart showing, hey, we have 627 developers at our studio, and then they go project by project. So right now, working on Cyberpunk 2077, you have 17 people working on it at CD Projekt. For Polaris, which is Witcher 4, we have 403 people at the studio working on it. For Orion, which is the next Cyberpunk game, 47. And then for Sirius, you have 37. For Hadar, you have 20. For shared services, you have 95 people working on it. And then for other projects, you have 8 people. I forget which is which between Sirius and Hadar. I think one of those might be the remake or something like that, but kindafunny.com/you're wrong. But fascinating stuff.
Oh my god.
Again, the transparency is huge and needed. I think CD Projekt Red wants to. I mean, they've already earned back so much trust, right?
Did he take medicine? Fucking pussy.
I think to keep on there, you want to keep being this transparent with your audience, with your friends, with your family, your shareholders, everybody else in the world, right? But it also sets expectations. Again, we've talked so much, and even now, coming off the heels of talking about in the last story referencing Naughty Dog's failed Last of Us game, right? And then seeing them talk so much about games that are coming up. It goes back to the old one of why are movie industries announcing games, or why are movie industry announcing movies so early in games, play everything so close to the vest, right? CD Projekt Red is trying to be very clear about what is going on. And I think when you're talking about a studio that makes these giant open world, expansive RPGs, that goes a long way. And it goes the same way, you know, when you look at Bethesda, right? And Todd Howard talking about like, cool, it's Starfield, then it's Elder Scrolls, then it'll be the next Fallout. Like, that sucks as a Fallout fan, but I appreciate that I'm not sitting there going, well, is it gonna be Fallout or Elder Scrolls? Like, it should be blah 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 blah. Like, hey, this is what's going on. This is what you can expect from us.
And I like this level of transparency too, especially coming
out
after
with the gun.
Cyberpunk
Chill.
2077, and us knowing about that game's existence for what, 8 years?
Yeah,
like
for
something,
a long time. Yeah.
Something crazy.
When all we
like
had
that.
was the cyberpunk girl with the arms that were like blades, and we're like,
yeah,
okay.
and like for that long, I could have seen CD Projekt going the way of, oh, let's be secretive, like let's not announce things too early. But I like how they're doing it here because it is, hey, like we're treating this as a business, right? Like we're not gonna give you the first trailer for The Witcher 4 8 years before it comes out, but we're gonna let you know that we're working on it, right? We're gonna let you know that we're working on the next Cyberpunk, and it only has 47 people working on it, and you're probably not gonna see it for the next decade, maybe, right? You don't know how long.
Set those expectations.
We'll set those expectations, and then when we get close to it, we'll start marketing, right? We'll start that cycle. But I think this is a smarter way to go about it for, I think, people who ask for more transparency, but then also
killed
for
my friend, had to fight my
people
friend
who don't
again.
necessarily want to see a million trailers for the same game. You know, I like the idea of, hey, this is what our studio structure is right now. This is what we're working on. We have these projects. We have some other things. I think Remedy has been doing that as well, where it is, hey, we have the next Control game. We have this Condor, something like that we're working on, like the multiplayer Control thing. We have all these things. We're going to tell you about it, but also we're not giving you teasers. We're just letting you in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with this.
Of course, yeah. I mean, the next Witcher sounds exciting. I can't wait.
And to your point of, you know, I think we're back in a place now where people trust CD Projekt. Would you have ever guessed that? Like coming off of Cyberpunk 2077, where it got to a point that PlayStation took it off the store. Is it surprising now to be at the place where they're talking about the future?
Since
and I'm
I do
like,
have
I can't wait for the next Witcher and
Spark
Cyberpunk
stuff,
game.
I'll put that on.
Surprising, I want to say no. And stick with me, right? Like, The Witcher 3 was such a plant your flag, we are CD Projekt Red. There's the thank you note inside the game case. All the stuff's free except for like the giant expansions, right? Like, they went to such another level where everybody at the time was like, they're doing it right. They're for years, right? So when you get to Cyberpunk and things go south and there's all these statements and this and that, and it was like, the hope was that it was someone you liked, someone you trusted that made a mistake, right? We're all humans. Everything, projects get out of control all the time. But we kept saying the proof being the pudding on how they support it, right? And I think, yeah, they've earned back their thing, let alone the fact of earning it back and being honest about it, right? Like, I don't know if he's here today, but Radic often watches our show, right? And he's like, you're wrong us, not about like our opinions or when we say you're wrong in actual facts or this, that,
I
the
gotta
other.
try to
Like,
run around this fucking city.
They know they fucked it up back then. And I think they've done the legwork in a No Man's Sky way of like, no, hey, we have a vision and we will commit to it and we are committed to our audience and our fans and this, that, the other. Like, okay, it's just gonna be one expansion rather than two. We're changing, you know what I mean? Like, that goes so far to get you back to, okay, great. Where I think even when Witcher 4 launches, the next Cyberpunk launches, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, I think that there'll be the, oh, wait till we play it kind of thing. But I don't think it's gonna be like, as if they were coming right off of Cyberpunk 2077 and it was broken.
I mean, I think you look at Starfield as an example, right? I feel like when we were approaching Starfield, there was an excitement about it. Even that one, I think, had a little bit of,
you want to fight me?
So like, is it gonna like? But like once we got there, I think there was a palpable, oh yeah, we're all excited about this thing, right?
Yeah.
And then people play it, and then they feel how they feel about it. I think for this, the fact that the last thing we're coming off of is Phantom Liberty, and they were able to build that game back up to a place where now there's fans, and you had the Cyberpunk anime as well too, and like there is this Cyberpunk community that like rides for that game now. Yeah, I think now that we're going back into the next thing being Witcher 4, which is only coming off of Witcher 3 in terms of how people feel about the franchise. I don't even know if we're gonna even have that thing of people being like, oh, but it's CD Projekt. Remember the last thing? I think we were gonna be like, oh fuck yeah, let's go. It's CD Projekt. We're gonna see the Witcher 4.
I think what's interesting is bringing Starfield into that conversation, right? Where I think Starfield and Cyberpunk's launches are different stories. Where what I think Starfield's launch is and what Starfield's additionals and changes and updates will be, I don't think you're going to get to the launch of Elder Scrolls or just say the next Bethesda game and have people going, man, I hope they don't fuck it up like they fucked up Starfield, which is how we talk about Cyberpunk.
I'm more so talking about Fallout 76 to Starfield.
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
People were excited for Starfield despite Fallout 76 being this big fumble.
See, I think what Starfield's Legacy will be is what I was trying to, I don't know how successfully or unsuccessfully I did in the lead up to Starfield, but being like, whatever's next is going to be a Bethesda game.
Yeah.
You know what a Bethesda game is, right? Like Fallout 76 has so many content problems, right? But even at its core, it was a Bethesda game, right? And I feel like people got so caught up in the online multiplayer part, they gave all the sins to that rather than, well, hold on, Bethesda makes this type of game.
See, I think for Bethesda's next game, because it is going to be the next Elder Scrolls game, I almost think that it's like all sins are wiped off the table and we're going to be judging it based on Skyrim, right? Like I think even for me, as somebody who Starfield didn't vibe with me, but when Elder Scrolls 6 comes around, I'm gonna be like, oh fuck, it's Elder Scrolls 6, right? Like I know I liked Elder Scrolls 5, I know I like the last one, I know what this kind of game is. I think that's gonna like hold a different weight in the same way that I think Witcher also is gonna hold a different weight than even Cyberpunk, even though I think the next Cyberpunk is fine. That's also something I wonder about. I know like the chances of those games coming out in the same year, very probably unlikely, right? But I would love to imagine a time where we get Witcher 4 and Elder Scrolls 6 coming out, let's say around the same time, and how people's attitudes are going into them. Because I think for both those games, people are gonna be like, well, fuck, I like the last Witcher, I like the last Elder Scrolls, like I'm excited for it. But I'm also like, I'm very fascinated about the idea of if those two came out in the same year, like what is gonna be which one is gonna compete more for people's attention between Elder Scrolls and a Witcher.
Fair enough.
But we'll see one day. Maybe not.
Maybe not. Who knows?
More for CD Projekt, story number 3.
Oh.
CD Projekt says 2023 was the second best year in its history while posting $120 million in net profits. This is Kat Bailey at IGN. CD Projekt Chief Financial Officer Peter Ulubowicz called 2023 the second best year in the company's history, as the studio posted net profits of more than $120 million in its full year earnings. Peter credited the release of Phantom Liberty, which he says was purchased by around a quarter of Cyberpunk 2077 owners, as well as ongoing interest in The Witcher for CD Projekt's success. Quote,
what the
Phantom
fuck?
Liberty's success resulted in strong sales, they said in a video statement as part of their earnings.
What the fuck
quote,
was that?
By the end of 2023, Phantom Liberty had been purchased over 5 million times, end quote. They called Phantom Liberty sales an excellent result, especially given that it's been more than 3 years since the release of the original Cyberpunk 2077. During the earnings, CD Projekt announced that Cyberpunk 2077 has earned about $751 million since its fraught release in 2020. Again, good for CD Projekt. I love hearing that. I'm also always curious about how expansions do in terms of sales.
100%. It sucks that you never get that information, right? Like,
yeah.
I feel like you have to wait for things like this and really the success stories, or it did so badly that somehow that gets out and people reverse engineer. But yeah, that's what I always want to know. Like, again, to bring it to something like Suicide Squad today with Joker, right? Like, so how is it a success? And it's the same thing of like throwing Steam numbers around, but like, what's it doing on PlayStation?
Yeah.
Where are we at? Oh.
I have in word of mouth I hear from people generally about DLC is that the sales are never that great because you're selling to an audience that's already like you can only sell to the audience of people that own that game.
Yeah.
Right. And so like you're working with a percentage, and then how many of those people are going to show up to buy the DLC? I feel like that's why you have the growing like lack of DLC over the years.
100%, right? And that's what we've seen time and time again with games, is that people don't finish the games they buy, let alone come back to a game 6 months, a year later and do the DLC. And so even for us, like, I think for the majority of the games we love and review, it's super rare for us to get back and do the DLC, right?
So for the fact that they're talking, even like, I mean, even going back to last year, Resident Evil 4 had like the big DLC that dropped. I was getting incredible reviews. I didn't get to go back to it, right? It was like very much, oftentimes it feels like a thing that comes and goes, even for big games. Like Horizon Forbidden West had its DLC come out last year. Yeah, Burning Shores came out last year. Which we played, and we really enjoyed as well.
Yeah.
But I think even that felt like it came and went. Spider-Man is another example of a very big game that had a DLC come out, but then it was like, all right, on to the next thing. Or I think a lot of people probably didn't even show up for a city that never sleeps during that year.
100%.
And so I think there's something really cool about Cyberpunk being able to have what they say around a quarter of Cyberpunk players buying the DLC or buying the expansion. Super wild. But then also, like I think that's going to translate to something like Elden Ring. And I wonder what the lesson is to learn.
You know, it's another one of, even if you didn't play it, you saw the reviews, you saw Idris Elba, you saw people fawning over it. So again, back to helping the reputation of CD Projekt as a whole.
Story number 4. Capcom is seeking feedback on potential Dragon's Dogma 2
We just gave it
DLC.
to you, don't do it, nobody plays it.
This is Tom Ivan at Video Games Chronicle.
Capcom is seeking feedback on Dragon's Dogma 2 DLC following the game's release last week. Notably, the company is using a newly launched survey to gauge interest in additional content for the game. It asked players what kind of DLC they'd like to see released for Dragon's Dogma 2. Players are also asked how much they'd be willing to pay for DLC, with options ranging from up to $10 to over $50. The survey is open until April 21st, and Capcom says participants will receive an original digital wallpaper.
Oh!
While Dragon's Dogma 2 received glowing pre-release reviews, it was criticized upon its release last Friday after players discovered there were 21 separate DLC purchases available on day one. Disappointment appeared to stem largely from the fact that some of the DLCs were things that players felt should be easier to obtain in-game for free.
Oh, shut up.
Earlier this week, Capcom detailed some of its planned updates for Dragon's Dogma 2, which are expected to be released in the near future. Cool. Hopefully the Dragon's Dogma players get what they want.
Yeah.
I imagine that's probably a DLC. I don't think
the game's so expansive. There's so much to do.
I mean, the Elden Ring's expansive, but
Sure.
I'm about to play this fucking DLC. I'm about to play the fuck out of Erdtree. Capcom, for me, the Dragon's Dogma 2 fan base, from what I see of them, seem like the type of folks that actually would show up for the DLC.
Yeah.
And I think this goes back to into our last conversation of what is it about Cyberpunk's expansion and Shadow of the Erdtree that hits harder than I would say something like Burning Shores or something like City That Never Sleeps, right? Like, is the fact that you're waiting longer? Is it like is it the size of it? Like, what is it that is making those expansions stand out more than the others?
Sure. A little column A, a little column B, I think, on some of it, right? I would say that for the successful ones there, right, for Cyberpunk, for Erdtree, those, I'm speaking a little out of church since we don't have Erdtree, right? But those feel like 1.5s of the game, right? They don't feel like a full-fledged sequel, obviously, but they feel like as much love and care and interest went into them as the base games. I'm specifically talking about Spider-Man, The City That Never Sleeps, right? Which was enjoyable, but didn't feel like I was playing additional content, right? These are like when you get the DVD and you look at the deleted scenes. Like, I understand why this got cut. Like, okay, I understand why I'm not. This isn't okay. Whatever. Blah blah blah. Whereas with Horizon, I think then you're dealing with the interest. Burning Shores, I was happy to get into, loved it, motivated me to finish my platinum ride in Forbidden West in general. But I don't think Horizon is another game that is so big and so expansive and so few people probably rolled credits, so few people probably platinumed. And I know you're popping off in the chat in a second saying, I did it. Remember, we are not normal. We are not the normal person who buys the PlayStation game and goes and plays it. I think it was one of those of like, when you get those kind of games, you can look at the DLC, but then you go, there's so much to do here already, right? Yeah. It's like, I think for me, the analog is Dead Island 2. Right, when we were leading up to the Portal, I was so excited to go back and platinum Dead Island 2. And I've tinkered with it, but obviously I'm using the Portal every night for things I'm reviewing or Helldivers or whatever. But when they like, here's the house DLC, and here's this new deal, they announced a new DLC this week, I think. It was just one of those things of just like, that's rad. I still have so much to do for my platinum that I'm not even paying attention to what this is. I don't care. Look at Dying Light 2.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up.
They still keep bringing shit out, and it's like, that is great for you and your community, but like, I'm not worried about that.
Yeah, and I was looking at chat, right, and some people were wondering about my examples too, and I'm like, I would extend that to any other DLC. Like, the reason I do Horizon and Spider-Man is just because like I view those as big games, right? I view those as comparable in terms of like popularity to something like Cyberpunk or something like Elden Ring. But yeah, like you go down the list and it is, something like Dying Light, where I like Dying Light. I didn't show it to any of the Dying Light DLC, and I would love to talk to anybody that did, right? I know they're out there. I know there are Dying Light fans out there. Like, there must be. They're not making these things for nobody. But like, I think the amount of excitement, the amount of hype, the amount of like anticipation for something like Phantom Liberty and something like Shadow of the Erdtree just feels palpably different than something like Horizon Burning Shores.
Not having played, I guess having played everything but Erdtree, right? Erdtree and Phantom Liberty, I put in the same vein as Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Okay.
It's more of the same world, but clearly they've gone and put so much love and care and done, you know what I mean? Like, that it feels like it is a standalone thing. Miles was standalone, right? But I mean, that's the feeling of like, it's that big of a deal. Whereas Burning Shores felt like more. Yeah, we went to LA. Yeah, they introduced Seika, but it was like, okay, you know what I mean? I'm still doing the same shit.
Honestly, I might disagree with you a little bit on Burning Shores, but I hear where you're coming from in terms of what a lot of DLC is. Because I think the example that comes to mind too is the Breath of the Wild DLC, where Tears of the Kingdom came out last year.
Yeah.
And so many people were talking about, are we going to get DLC? Are we going to get DLC? And then finally we heard that we're not going to get DLC. And the whole time that's happening, I'm like, do we even want DLC? Like, for the people that played the Breath of the Wild DLC, it's like,
cool, that was more of that game. But to your point with Tears of the Kingdom, I played 100 hours of Tears of the Kingdom, and I still have so much more that I could do in that game. And a lot of the Breath of the Wild DLC was just more, right? Here's another like dungeon to explore.
Here's a motorbike.
Here's a motorbike. Like here's a few things here and there. And for me, it's like I think something like what I think Shadow of the Erdtree is going to be, obviously because we've not played it, but this is me judging off of previous From Software expansions. I expect that to be, hey, here is a fucking big new area with big new story.
Oh my
and
God,
like, you're gonna
32.
get 10 hours, 20 hours. I have no idea, but you're gonna get like a sizable chunk out of this. That's gonna feel almost like a separate game. Same for Phantom Liberty, where Phantom Liberty, in my opinion, almost feels like a separate game.
How fucking high
I would
can
say
these
that
levels
like,
go? Like
in terms of
100?
the content, almost feels
that shit's crazy.
more comparable to a Horizon Burning Shores, but I think Phantom Liberty just hit harder. I think maybe it is, hey, we got Idris Elba for this thing, right? Like we got brand new characters that you're gonna fall in love with for this thing, right? We got a big new area, which again Burning Shores did, but I don't know, there's something about that hit that hit harder for me, that like really resonated with me. Maybe it's just the quality of what they put into it versus what you get out of a Burning Shores, and maybe it is the time you spent waiting for it, because it's 2023 versus 2020 when that game originally came out, whereas Burning Shores or Horizon to Burning Shores is only a year. I think there was some different pomp and circumstance to it by the time we actually got around to it that I think really worked for me.
Does it fall into the fact too that I think, you know, your V is more interesting than Aloy? Like, you know, and like what are you playing these games for? Like, again, I would say for Horizon period, when I'm playing Horizon, it is about climbing up the wall, fighting the machine, finding the thing, doing the stuff, blah 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 blah. It's sandy, it's sunny, whatever. Like, and then for Phantom Liberty, it was like, hey, do you want to take your V on a Mission Impossible mission and do all these different things and meet these different characters and talk to the president, crash Air or Space Force One? And it's like, that felt like a movie, right? And Horizon's DLC felt like more Horizon. It felt like more quests.
Moving on to story number 5. Embracer CEO says it's too early to start buying studios again.
Shut the fuck up.
This is Andy Robinson at Video Games Chronicle.
We should, as an industry, just ban you from buying any studios. Look at Barrett's punching over there.
He said it's too early.
We gotta take the power away. The power away.
Is this what the email was at the beginning of the show, Greg? About like we need to rise up against and fight somebody? Is it the
Everybody,
CEO
we are gonna buy Embracer just to close it.
The article reads, Embracer CEO Lars Wingefors has told investors he believes it's, quote, too early for the group to start considering studio acquisitions again following the completion of its costly restructuring. On Friday, the company confirmed the sale of Borderlands developer Gearbox to Take-Two in a deal worth $460 million. The deal marked the end of a 9-month money-saving operation, which saw the sale or closure of many studios, the cancellation of nearly 30 games, and more than 1,300 job cuts. Surprisingly, on the day the restructuring was completed, CEO Wingefors was asked in an investor call whether Embracer was ready to start acquiring studios again. To which he replied,
These are the kind of motherfuckers. This is what we're talking about. Not even Lars. The investors, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we closed these things. We fucked up a whole bunch of people's lives, all these layoffs. Yeah. Are we ready to buy more? When we bought more before the thing that almost sunk everybody, our stock was up. Can we get back to that?
It's like, can we get bigger? Like, why aren't we getting bigger? Like, you're getting smaller.
Infinite big.
To which he replied,
that's the people in charge of these big companies.
Nobody fucking cares.
He replied, it was too early to say. Quote, looking to do more mergers and acquisition deals, I think it's way too early to start talking about restarting the M&A engines again, he said via RPS. Quote, now we are in the late phases of the consideration into the future of the group, and that's our highest focus and priority.
Yes.
How we set up ourselves and structure ourselves and utilize our assets we have within the group and have them work together to exploit Lord of the Rings. He didn't say that part, but I'm adding it because he thinks it. And how we leverage them better working together, utilizing different functions. Quote, I think that's our focus right now, to increase profitability and cash flow generation by simply making better products and games, end quote. I don't believe he believes that last part. Make better products and games?
It's hard to say. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I want to dunk on Embracer all day long, and I'll make fun of him on the stage and yada yada yada. This I think is an interesting comparison to our CD Projekt Red talk about, like being at the Cyberpunk launch and being like, yo, will they ever get the goodwill back? Like, I do want to believe in the good of people. Lars, had a very bold business strategy that has blown up in his face and the company's face and yada yada yada. But to sit there and be like, I think that's a lie, I don't know.
For sure.
I definitely want to be like, we should buy all the dead THQ games and call ourselves THQ.
The reason I have that reaction is, yeah, when you talk about simply making better products and games, I look at Embracer up until now, and I do not associate
what
them.
good game have you made?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't associate them with good products and good games.
100%.
And I go back to the statements made last year, right after the whole Saudi deal falling through, and them talking about we got to exploit Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
That doesn't strike me as like in the same heart of, oh, but we want to make quality Lord of the Rings products, especially after putting out Gollum, which I know Gollum started not under them, and ended up being under them, but. Yeah, like I don't
need
know.
to bond with you.
I don't buy it. I gotta see
Fugitive.
it. If I see
that's
it,
a totally reasonable thing. I just don't want to be like.
Dead.
I don't want to put words in his mouth.
I don't know this man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And I think his company's really fucked this place up. But like, I don't want to be like, you're a fucking.
That man with the fist who fucking assaulted me in the last match. I appreciate it.
But fucking Bracer.
It was already a 2-on-1.
At least we're not getting any more acquisitions soon.
Again, like, and I did think it was actually kind of cool when
Fuck
he's like
you,
the
pussy.
M&A engine.
Get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah, that's a cool way to say it. Yeah, like.
But also fucked up when you think about it.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. We just had a machine.
We just have to fucking eat.
We had a machine that was merging and acquisitioning and acquiring things.
This is back to the thing of like, you know, did you ever think I can't fathom a world where the Embracer Group is still standing in 5 years and is good. You know what I mean? That's an interesting. I want to know what the fuck that narrative and timeline's gonna look
insane.
like.
Yeah, like I talked about this before, right? Of the way I look at EA, even though I know recently EA had I forget if it was a statement or maybe it was the layoffs, right? That was like, oh shit, all right, we're getting back to the old EA, right? But like up until now, the fact that EA has been, hey, we're doing EA Originals. Hey, we're publishing games like It Takes Two and A Way Out and Faye and Unravel. Hey, we have the Jedi game. Hey, we have Apex Legends and people like that for a moment. And like, you know, there was a level of quality that EA went from not having, or like a level of quality and identity. Because it was, EA's just sports games about 10 years ago or so. And now when I think of EA, I am like, nah, man, I got some EA games I'm excited about. I kind of like where EA's at. Whereas Embracer feels like a place, or feels like a studio, or publisher, I guess, company.
It's a people.
It's a people where I'm like, I can't see that turnaround for Embracer. You know, I don't know what that looks like. It'd be very fascinating to think about, right?
100%.
You know, if they somehow put out a 9 out of 10 Lord of the Rings game, if Tomb Raider comes out and does great for them, and now Crystal Dynamics is like their star player, if they're able to foster these publishers and studios that are under them and like turn them all into stars, 10 years from now, if we're talking about Embracer the way we talk about, I don't know, the way we talk about Bandai Namco or like Capcom or something, oh man, that'd be a wild feature. But it's so, I cannot think about what that would be like.
100%.
Greg, we just talked about a lot of big news, but if I wanted something smaller, say the tiniest news I needed to know about, where would I go?
You go to our last story, the Wii News channel, where we cover all the small news you need to know about.
Now it's time. Story number 6, we got Wii News. Let's start off with the Stellar Blade demo. It is up currently on PSN, so go hop on that.
Hear Blessing talk about it on PS I Love You XOXO. Hear me and Andy talk about it on Gamescast.
YouTube.com, so it's kind of funny games. This next one's from Noble. Dragon's Dogma 2 update is out on PS5 and PC. You can switch ray tracing on and off in the options. You have the option to set FPS at max 30 FPS in options, changing the number of art of Metamorphosis to 99. You have the option to switch motion blur on and off in the options. You have some bug fixes and more. I could have sworn I heard squeaking coming from that direction.
There's somebody over there.
Oh, I thought it was a mouse.
Somebody's going over there.
I was like, do we have rats? Tekken 8's Eddie Gordo officially releases on April 4th. This next one's from VGC. Minecraft is reportedly getting a native PS5 version. Wow. Certain Affinity is laying off 25 people. And then Pandemonium comes to Asgard's Wrath 2. It's the 4th cosmic event, free for all players. And that's it for Wii News. Now it's time for kindoffunny.com/you're wrong. Rewrite in and let us know what we got wrong as we got it wrong, so we can correct it for those watching later on YouTube and listening later on podcast services around the globe. Okay, this is from Radic. Radic says, bless.
Hi, Radic.
When you reviewed the CDPR chart with 627 developers assigned to various projects, you mentioned that one of the projects besides Polaris, which is the next Witcher, and Orion, which is the next Cyberpunk, is probably the Witcher remake. It's important to note that the remake project is being developed by Fool's Theory, an external team who recently released a story-driven RPG called The Thaumaturge. Their headcount does not contribute to the aforementioned number. Other projects included in the chart besides Polaris and Orion are Sirius, which is a brand new game set in the Witcher universe, developed by Molasses Flood, and Hadar, which is a new original IP from CD Projekt Red. Thank you, Radic. That's very good. You're wrong. Greg?
He's like, by the way, you guys are fucking liars about us.
Yeah, I'll never have you back for a panel ever again. That brings us to the end of Kinda Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday, we run you through the nerdy news you need to know about live on YouTube, Twitch, and on podcast services around the globe. If you love what we do, support us with the Kinda Funny membership on Patreon or YouTube to get all of our shows ad-free, watch us record them live, and get a daily exclusive show. Right after this, it's Kinda Funny Game Showdown featuring Alana Pierce, Ben Starr, aka Clive from Final Fantasy 16, and Abu Salim, aka the founder of Sturgeon Studios, who's making Tales of Kinzera, Zao.
You nailed it.
Yeah, I had to think about it for a second.
I saw it for a second. I saw your wheel go. I'm like, do I have the game name? And I was ready to help you, but I didn't.
I appreciate it. Go check that out. Happening now on youtube.com/kindafunnygames and twitch.tv/kindafunnygames. Until next time, it's been my pleasure to serve you.
Whew. Alright. So we finally cleared the last map. We did most, or I'm guessing most of the, see how much side content we got left. Ugh. See how far we are. With all available allies, that's not gonna happen anytime soon. Where's, oh, completed all bond missions. I'm dumb as fuck. 48 out of 58. Okay. Not bad. I want to get this one. Fly from the deck of what? Glided from the elevated deck at the Kiyo Mizudera Temple. I'll probably save that for my last achievement. Get something nice and epic. Alright, but for now, the Shogunate army has withdrawn to Edo, but the momentum toward a decisive battle with the revolutionist army in Edo is picking up pace. With Edo on the brink of a defining conflict, your blade twin is sure to appear. Okay, so we got some extra missions here. Fujiwa, available in Komajichi. So we'll do these first. But I gotta eat. I gotta eat. I'm hungry. Daddy's hungry. I have to finish up my good. Man, I can't wait to play the Stellar Blade demo. That shit's gonna be fucking ass. Straight ass.